waiting for Nigel to arrive in town and giving us notice that his Periscope feed is live. He can even join our Hangouts and showing us our correspondents who are inside one of the Washington delegations. And Dave needs to work on when he is messing with a live feed and when he is messing with
sorry
a not so live feed. So okay, thanks, Dave. Dave, it would actually be nice if you could come in here and talk with me a bit.
Yeah, that's why I was fixing my hair.
And like. And to continue our continued unending stream of epic successes here in our show, Nigel just reported in that he doesn't have a phone, and he is now looking for a T-Mobile store to buy one because he can still stream from his GoPro. He just can't join us in the Hangout. So. We'll be bringing you Nigel's Street View stream of what's going on, and I'm going to be trying to find out where he is and what he's doing. So if one of our producers could ask him those questions, that would be amazing. And we're trying at the same time. Yes, we are, for the first time ever, dual streaming. We are streaming to the Project Sanity channel, projectsanity.org, as well. So you can go and find us at projectsanity.org. This will be our own channel. We will, in the future, continue to also stream to Ben's channel, but as our own subscription base rises up, we will start exclusively streaming to our channel and then putting up some of our better videos on Ben's channel. That will be somewhat in the future, though. Coming up today, Dave has arranged for Lawrence Steiner, a California delegate, to check in with us. We have our own delegates who are working with us. Adair Schmidt from the Washington delegation is going to be checking in with us later today. And he's going to be trying to ask people to help us get streams of events. And we are scouring Twitter and YouTube and Periscope for links to feeds of the marches and the events down there. So if you have any, please let us know. And Grandma Christine in the chat on Benjamin Dixon's show is saying that we should all talk very, very loud because she's starting to clean house. I'll try and raise my voice a bit, but perhaps you could instead turn up your volume.
Be right back.
Yeah, okay, so we have Joshua Matthew Reed saying that Tim Kaine is basically the worst candidate Clinton could have chosen. Well, I gotta say, when you choose a senator from Vermont, and you have to choose between two senators, and one of them is the leader of a people's movement, and has gotten almost as many delegates as you, but you completely screwed him out by colluding and cheating. You completely screwed him out of the delegates that should have been his. I kind of understand why you go with the other delegate, the other senator from Vermont, but perhaps the first one would have been the better choice, since he actually had, you know, people backing him. Tim Kaine allegedly professed interest in the TPP before he recently all of a sudden was against it. So there's a lot of things going on with this vice presidential choice. Joseph Bailing says, Clinton is the worst nominee ever. I'm sure there must have been nominees that were worse. I'm pretty sure Nixon's re-election, he was the worst nominee ever, but I don't want her to be the nominee, and I don't want her to be the president. People then ask me, well, do you want Trump to be the president? And I'm saying, no, I don't want Trump to be the president either. but then you have to vote for Hillary. No, 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 I don't. Plum J and Joseph Ballin here is correcting me. Yeah, I don't know why I got it into my head that he was the senator from Vermont. And Joshua Matthew Reed is saying that he feels bad for Warren since her endorsement ruined her reputation and possibly her job. I don't know that she's going to lose her job. She's quite popular in Massachusetts. But her reputation in progressive circles, in leftist circles, took quite a bit of a hit. It seems like Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, while being staunch and hardcore progressives and have been fighting against the tide for decades, somehow it seems like they're letting the fear of Trump completely and utterly overshadow all other things that they stand for, so that they are not I completely lost my train of thought there. I'm so sorry, folks. Let me just do a roundup. This is the Project Sanity and Progressive Army coverage of the DNC in Philadelphia. I'm joined in the back room by Dave Conan, who is producing and soon will be co-hosting, I'm hoping, with me. We also have Eric Miller, also known on Twitter as EM Project Sanity, Dave Conan, known as Our Revolution TV. We in the back room, Adair Schmidt, who you can find at Adair Schmidt on Twitter, and at Progressive Greens for Richard Green, are also working behind the scenes to bring you the best show that we can possibly give you. On the street is Nigel Harrison, also an affiliate with Project Sanity. Benjamin Dixon is on the street as well, getting interviews, getting footage of marches. Anoa is up and about, as far as we can see in our Slack chat. She is reaching out to her grassroots contacts, and later today, after work hours, Michael from the Louisa Project could possibly come by as well. The event we are looking out for today is here in 1 minute at 9. The Occupy DNC should start outside the Wells Fargo Center. Burn Down the Convention should also start in FDR Park, which is a march that should end up at the Wells Fargo Center. In an hour at 10 p.m., we are going to be looking for footage from Let's Make Sure the DNC Feels the Burn event, which starts at Liberty Bell Street and Market Street. There will be a migrants' rights march on Capitol Field from 10 to 12. And there will be a march on the DNC that starts from City Hall, quite a few marches on the DNC. And Democracy Spring will be have announced that they're doing a civil disobedience protest outside the convention, which starts at 10 a.m. and is scheduled to end at 10 p.m. So that's a full day's program. We'll, of course, be trying to keep an eye on how the police and other security forces will be handling this. Just a second. Dave, you need to mute if you're not actually talking. I'm picking up sounds from other places. Get an interview with Chris Hedges is what Joseph Ballin says. Well, you give us Chris Hedges' contact information, we will send him an interview request. Then we'll see if we can see it. Joseph Ballin says Trump is just a puppet. Well, puppet from who? I would be interested in hearing, because if you're about to say Putin, then I'm about to start laughing. Okay, so if you have comments, if you have questions, if you have information, for example, who Trump is a puppet for, please let us know. And if you have comments or questions, put them in the chat and we will pick up on them as much as we can. Dave, are you about ready to come in here, or do you have a stream for us? Seems like Dave have a stream for us. What stream is it? This is Nigel's stream. Nigel is starting to stream, and it is live.
Doing?
Hi,
Good.
what are you up to?
I'm just streaming.
Oh,
Yeah, for Project Sanity.
Me.
Yeah. You guys giving away tea, huh?
We are. Come back at 10.
10. I'm
Yeah.
trying to find where the rally is. I don't even know my way around Philly.
We're not from here.
No one's from around here. And anyone that is from around here, I ask them a question and they see the camera and they run away.
Well, it's intimidating. Not all of us are like ready, you know?
I thought it was the city of brotherly love.
I know. These people all look like locals. Yeah.
They do all look like
We're
locals.
going to work.
Yeah, they're all good.
Where's the area you need?
I don't know. I think it's Thomas Paine Plaza or something like that.
You Googled it? Do you want me to Google it?
Well, you could see what happened is my phone just bricked on the train. Can you believe that? Like it bricked, right?
I'll help you.
Bloody LG.
Tell me what it is again.
Well, it's on
Thomas Paine?
Facebook. They have a Facebook page, Thomas Paine Plaza.
Thomas Paine Place.
Yeah, I think that.
Oh, you're a 30-minute walk away.
Miss your live. We lost the stream. So
All right,
you're back
guys.
up, my friend.
Okay,
We're here. Welcome.
so Nigel
Welcome to
has
day
seems to be
one
having some connectivity issues, but
The
he
DNC
will be
convention.
doing his very best
Yesterday
to
was, I guess, part
bring
of
us
day one,
reports
sort
from
of.
inside
But the
Philadelphia
official
during the day.
gavel
Brandon
convention gets
is
open
gonna
today.
be joining
A
me
lot of
later today.
controversy around that with
He
Debbie
is,
Wasserman
and I'm quoting
Schultz,
here, be right back.
her
Be there in a
resignation.
sec, I just need to put my face on.
So,
So I'll be joined by Brandon.
whether she's going to
So I'll
open
have
the
someone to pass
convention,
off,
hand the
to
gavel
just
across,
say
or whether
whatever
she's
is in
going
my
to
mind. And
not
Dave, you still need
attend
to
at all.
yourself.
So
We have,
I'll be
Omar,
trying to get
joining us.
trying to hook up with my
He is
connection
complaining,
and
that we only
get
have
some
23 people
credentials
watching the show. Geez, progressive, we should be up in numbers.
for
Ready to
convention.
support every stream on Earth. LOL. Well, I
Alright,
cannot
we're
in
now
any
out
way
on the
disagree with
streets.
that. Omar, whenever
And,
we start a stream, we should have a
weather's
million
fine weather.
viewers. That would be very, very nice, especially with all the technical difficulties we
Weather
had
rallies.
both yesterday and today. Okay, so we are going to be trying to find
Hi,
streams for
streaming.
from what's going on inside the town today. We are looking for streams from the marches happening all around Philadelphia that are all headed towards the Wells Fargo Center. So if you in any way have can help us find these feeds and post them or tweet them at us or do any of these things, please do so. Later today, around between 10 and 11, we'll have Lauren Steiner, a California delegate, come join us on the show and give her take on yesterday's happenings and on what's happening today. We are going to be trying to get interviews with as many people as we can, bringing you the inside scoop on what's going on. Jesse Smith, who reported in with us yesterday, is going to be joining us at some point. And we're going to make sure that he has a link to our Hangout, I assume. And he's going to be joining us this evening, as I understand it. Upstate Raider is asking if this is No Filter Monday. It could seem like that in the chat, and not to mention on the no filter on the technical production and all the things that are and not happening. And Dave is still not muted, so we're getting all the coffee cups and slurps and laughs.
No, I think that's just in the Hangout. Yes, no, it's not going out on air. I don't think.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, so I don't know if you want to join me in here, Dave, or if we're just waiting for Brandon to join us.
No, absolutely. I'm actually ready. I think my head. I'm having a really bad hair day, so I thought I'd wait.
Is your audio going to the audience this time?
Yeah, you saw me in my. At least I wasn't doing anything really strange. In that, I know it's that little one. If you don't click one little button, you're messed up, So, but yeah, hey, we pulled it together. It's a mystery how it all comes together, and we're a grassroots ad hoc group from all over the country, trying to pull together in multiple states. Used to be multiple countries, but now we're all over the place trying to pull this together for everybody. So, we do what we can, and we rally, we got it going, and we'll be flying, we'll be grooving by midday. But we do have a lot of good stuff coming up. Lauren Steiner, she has the Hangout link. She'll be coming in. There's some TPP action happening that she's going to report on as well. So lots of good stuff happening today.
Yeah, lots of good stuff. The biggest thing, if you're watching this at home, if you're driving a car and listening to this on Spreaker or something like that, then please don't do this. But if you're watching this at home, please help us find feeds. Please help us scour the internet for what's going on. We have about 4 to 5 sets of hands right now, but about 3 of those sets of hands are going basically just to making this show. So if you can help us in any way, then please do so. You can tweet it at us, or you can put it in the chat. The chat doesn't accept links, but instead of putting instead of putting the period before the .com, put in .dot. Okay, so we're about ready to bring Brandon in here step by step. So I can get a speaking break, hopefully. But Brandon joined us yesterday and had some very good points in our conversation about the collusion going on with the DNC and Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, as most people will know by now, resigned yesterday from her position and was immediately rehired by Hillary Clinton. And in the statement concerning her hiring Hillary Clinton, they said that they were looking forward for her to her continued support of the Hillary Clinton. So they're basically just saying, yeah, she's been supporting us from day one. So they basically just admitted to collusion. But as we've talked about earlier today, that is there's a high premium being put on people willing to stand out as incompetent, willing to stand out as being corrupt, as being in collusion, and then after they've been that, stand out again as showing themselves as being completely and utterly incompetent by saying, I don't recall. One of the more famous cases, to mention it once again, the former head of the Department of Justice during George W. Bush's presidency, he was firing people for being Democrats. He was firing people for being un-American. And this was quite clearly going on, and it was reflected in meeting minutes, and it was reflected in emails, and he was pulled up in front of congressional hearing after congressional hearing, and he was asked questions to which his answer was basically and constantly, I don't recall. I don't recall, I don't recall, I don't recall. He was asked about a meeting on his books that had been, he had attended 2 weeks ago, and he couldn't recall a single detail of that meeting. So he, all in all, he completely and utterly stood out as being complete and utterly incompetent at his job. But afterwards, when he resigned his position, he was praised by the president and by many of his colleagues, and he went on to get a cushy job. So this is the way that things are being done now. This is the way that sorry, I'm having fun looking at David having trouble putting in more people in the Hangout. I got slightly distracted there. You're supposed to get them get their full picture, not their thumbnail up, Dave. Okay.
You guys can start. We'll switch back and forth.
Okay, Brandon, can you come in and put some of your comments on this collusion that's going on and the willingness to do incompetence?
Sure. The DNC email leak collusion that we've been made aware of now.
Yeah, but also the past collusions, like examples of like Scooter Libby and the former head of the Department of Justice under George W. Bush, and yeah, whatever you can think of when people have just stood up and said, yeah, I was completely incompetent, I should never have been hired. Oh, now I'm resigning in shame, but I'm getting a new cushy job for $100,000 a month, and so yay me.
I mean, that's we could talk about Oliver North scandal where Reagan, the Reagan administration, because we never proved Reagan was physically involved, were selling illegal arms and drugs to South American guerrilla fighters in order to pay for weapons to provide weapons for, I would say, terrorists in the Middle East. And this is just what you do when you're in the mafia. You have lower level mafioso take the blame for crimes, go to prison, and then come out and receive a payday. Except no one goes to prison anymore. Now it's just they just lose their job, lose some face. Then they get a job at Fox News, or they get a job at a lobbying firm, and they sell their connections. We have a sort of revolving door government system where people are willing to lose their government jobs in order to secure private contracts. People are willing to go back and forth from the Fed to the banks that the Fed regulates. I once a friend of mine, his father was the vice president, a high-ranking official in the New York Federal Bank, and it was well known that if you wanted to get higher in the Fed, you had to go out and work in the private sector for a few years. Then you come back, and then you do that cycle. That's the way you move up the ladder in certain government organizations. So it's like, the reasons why you leave the government tend to be varied, but ultimately you can't, like, the distinction between the regulators and those being regulated are becoming very specious, and the barrier between them is very porous.
Okay, yeah. I had actually forgotten about the Reagan administration example you brought up. But yeah.
Totally forgot. Sorry. Thank you, chat.
Okay, so yeah, so Joseph Balin is commenting, you can't go to prison if you are a politician. Well, there was a movie actually made about a lobbyist who helped Bush win his election, win the first presidential election. I can't remember his name. He was involved somehow with some casinos on Indian reservation and casinos that was offshore, and some illegalities there, and he crossed the line in such a manner that there was no excuse for it. So he was actually put into jail. And then on the day of George Bush's resignation, George Bush stepping down from the presidency after Obama had been elected, the last letter he did was pardoning this man. I cannot remember his name right now. Do you remember who I'm talking about here? There's even
I absolutely do not. I have to admit, at that time I was 9 years old. so I wasn't as deep into politics, but I want to put forth the theory to you because you're smart and European, and so there's a difference in culture surrounding the public sector that I think might be responsible for this, where people in America denigrate ever since the 80s public sector work. Where if you work in the government, if you're a paper pusher, a middleman, a middle manager, that kind of work is viewed as somehow you know you're living, you're getting fat off the government's teat, you're getting fat off red tape. Like we don't have a sort of culture that values working for the government in roles, in certain roles, and that makes the culture surrounding government work very uh, I don't know, at least virulent from the outside. But I'm not sure if this is the same in other places where if you work for the CDC or I'm not CDC, but regulatory bodies like the DEA or the ATF, there is a certain you constantly hear about how like, we need smaller government, we need to get rid of these lazy government workers.
Yeah, most definitely. I don't know if there is that big of a difference. A couple of years back, there was we had, and everyone has a right to laugh right now, but this is just the direct translation. We have an energy company in Denmark called Dong, DONG, and this energy company had merged together with others into forming this, and it produced a wide swath of clean energy. It also did coal, but it was in great part owned by the Danish state. Now, the supposedly left, at least leftist supported government of Denmark at the time, then started the transaction of selling this the state's shares in Dong, and it was Goldman Sachs who made the biggest offer. Now, what happened was in Denmark, we have a little over 5 million people living in Denmark. Over 200,000 people signed a petition to stop the sale from going through. And before the sale went through, it was discovered that the husband of our then female prime minister, his family, his relatives would actually benefit significantly from this sale. And even though 200,000 people, which was a double-digit percentage of our population, actually signed petitions saying they did not want the sale to go through, they sold it anyway. And even though it is readily apparent that people benefited from insider trading from this sale, nothing happened. So yeah, we might have some difference in how we view public service. I don't know. I know that I know it's more visceral, the anti-government feeling in the United States, but the last 10 years in Scandinavia, you've seen an increase in people demonizing people who lost their jobs, demonizing the government for helping those who don't have anything themselves. It's this neoliberalism, it's the neoconservatism. It's been spreading like a plague ever since Reagan.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a very specific, you say neoliberalism, I think we should clarify, it's a very specific type of neoliberalism that views the state and state apparatuses and public institutions as the source of problems in society. That there is no problem in society that the state is better equipped to handle than a private corporation. And this has gone down to every level where you see Chris Christie yelling at teachers for wanting, smaller classroom sizes and better pay, where you have people, I mean, at least I've heard people talk about how lazy construction workers are because they're in unions and, like who are working on roads and how roads are never fixed. And the sort of blaming of the worker, the government worker, as the cause of government problems, the low level worker, even as opposed to the sort of system we've created that demonizes the government in and of itself. I do want to give a bit of a news update for today, what's going on. I see we have a lot of Jill Stein fans in the crowd today. So Jill Stein is going to be at the rally for the March for our lives at 3 p.m. and also at the JSP Power Rally from 6 to 9 p.m. So hopefully we can get some people out there to cover that as well.
Yeah, we are having some problems getting a hold of Nigel, but we can try and reach out to Benjamin Dixon, see if he can be at any of these locations. Brandon, can you give me your thoughts on what you think we're going to see today?
I think that the Democrats are not going to be outdone by the Republicans. I think I think even prior to the email leaks, the first day of the Republican Party National Convention, we saw a big sort of hoopla over the rules. I assume that after these leaks that show just heavy collusion, the Bernie delegates are going to be, we had Jesse Smith on yesterday. Jesse Smith, yes, who is a Bernie delegate, who they feel very strongly about accomplishing what they went there for in supporting Bernie. So I think we're going to see a lot of dissatisfaction, a lot of outright protest and calls for maybe chance for Hillary to recall her, to rescind her bid for the nomination. I think we're going to see a bit of a shit show in that regard.
A bit of a shit show. Okay. Well, I think we are going to see some floor fighting. I think that they are going to be fighting each other on the floor. I think that they're going to. I'm scared that they're going to try and use the same tactics that they used at the Nevada state caucuses, where they simply close off people's mics, where even though they're saying, do anyone have anything to say? And then there are 5 people saying yes, and then, oh, no one has anything to say, and then just moving on. I'm scared that they're going to abuse the rules, that they're going to abuse the fact that they have the mic to simply steamroll across Bernie delegates, and Bernie delegates getting their say. That is my fear. But I do know that even if they try to do that, the Bernie delegations will not go down quietly, and we've heard from our contact within the Bernie delegation that if they're completely shut out, if they're not included, then they will simply make a huge deal out of walking out.
Yeah, I've heard from delegates that we are not familiar with, that we are not associated with, from other states, southern states that went to Hillary Clinton, but their particular districts were more Bernie oriented, and they're more Bernie oriented, and they are also willing to separate themselves from their state at large to just to stage a walkout as well. I'm sorry, there's some people are talking about the idea of third parties in the national debates, and the need for 15% in polling, national polling. What people don't know about that is that 15% in national polling has to be an average of 5 polls that are chosen by the council by a bipartisan council to determine that 15%. So basically, a council of Democrats and Republicans choose which 5 polls to count towards that 15%. And so even if they were to have 10 polls, they would probably choose the ones that put them at less than 15%. They would have to have 15% in basically every poll, or at least average of every poll in order to get in. This is not just 15% in one national poll. This is 15% as an average of 5 national polls as chosen by a group of Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah, so what he's saying is Jill Stein's not going to get in the debates.
Yeah, neither will Gary Johnson. So that's just not happening.
Yeah, and this is not because people are not going to work hard to make it happen. It's not because she's not going to be capable of reaching 15% in the poll. It's because the system is rigged, folks. It's because the Democrats and the Republicans have been in power for so long that they simply through the way that they do business, have made a system that benefits the two-party system and excludes anything and everyone else.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Brandon, we have been accused of talking about the problems too much. What is the solution?
The solution to what?
How do we, when the two-party system is so mired into the government, or rather when the government is so mired in the two-party system, including the process to electing people to office, how do you break the two-party system without breaking the government?
Well, I think that we have to look at first what maintains the two-party system. How do the two parties keep themselves in, as the only two viable parties? And that's through vague antagonistic language towards one another. Like you put one side against the other, and you make the other side seem like the apocalypse, and that you are the only one who's capable of staving off that apocalypse because you are the most popular. But I think that the solution has happened already. I would say they've collapsed under their own weight. At this point, the Democrats have collapsed under trying to track so far to the right with the Republicans that people no longer view them as a legitimate leftist party. Like I think that 20 years ago when Ralph Nader, I'm sorry, it must have been further than 20 years ago at this point, when Ralph Nader was saying we need a real second party, people thought he was joking. But I think now that we have a Hillary Clinton versus Trump president's run, people are actually seeing that.
Okay, so what you're saying here is the corruption collusion that has come out this time around, and the two presidential candidates we have, the biggest, the biggest, what's it called? What, oh my God, I completely lost the word for that. Reality, the biggest reality TV star ever, with the biggest mouth ever, versus the biggest insider corrupt person ever. Like that, this is what is going to break the two-party system. That people can't believe that these are the candidates that they're told to choose between, and then they will move on to other parties. Is that what you're saying?
First of all, Donald Trump is not sneaky. So I don't know what you're talking about with the biggest reality star ever. If it was Hillary Clinton versus Snooki from Jersey Shore, then maybe we'd have a real we have a real election. But no, I think this has less to do with the Republican candidate because I think as long as you have one viable candidate, you can uh, you can salvage a two-party system. You can salvage it. And I think with this election, it has put us with two candidates that large parts of the populace find to be inviable. So it's more about Hillary Clinton and the way she makes the DNC look and everything the DNC has done to support her.
Okay, so even though the last 8 years, everyone on the left and most people in the center have been screaming about the Republican obstinance in Congress, the Republican obstruction, and the weird bathroom laws, and all of these things that they have been doing. What you're saying is it's going to be the DNC colluding with Hillary Clinton to subvert a free election in the nomination process of the Democratic Party that is going to break the two-party system?
Yeah, because this comes down to what the Democratic Party's ideals are and what Democrats view themselves as. I don't think Republicans kind of, succumb to the idea of authoritarianism within their own party. They like that sort of strong man, big guy, loud talker, vulgar person. That's been their thing since the 80s, anti-intellectualism, anti-elitism. But the Democratic Party prides itself on being the good party. And people have had to bend over backwards to make Hillary Clinton seem like a good person and make her, ascendancy to nomination seem legitimate. And after these leaks, the Democratic Party has been revealed as corrupt and colluding and just generally anti-democratic. And how can you have a party called Democratic Party when it's very clearly anti-democratic? So ultimately, the Democrats have proven themselves as an establishment to be not so different from the Republican Party. And I think that's the real problem here. The Democrats have now, even Donald Trump has successfully as well, have blurred the lines between the two parties, at least in the way they operate and on some of the key issues. Where Donald Trump is tracking to the left of Clinton, Clinton is way to the right of Trump. And it's revealing the false dichotomy between Republicans and Democrats, and the real dichotomy between the people and the establishment that exists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talked about this yesterday as well, that Trump had identified what people actually wanted to redress their grievances against. It wasn't necessarily left versus right. It was the common denominator between the common denominator between the left and the right and their grievances was the anti-establishment vote. That is what he is tapping into. That is the thing that he has identified amongst the voters. That is the sentiment that is going on. We're hearing from Nigel that he might have found some people to talk to. So we're having Dave trying to bring his stream up nice and easy. So when we have that, we'll be bringing you Nigel Harrison and his Periscope feed that he's calling that Far King Aussie. He's from Australia and likes to curse a lot. So cover your ears if it becomes too much. We'll show what Nigel is seeing. He has bought one of these newfangled GoPros and put it on himself and is now walking around. And yeah, we are ready to bring Nigel. So we're going to shut up and give Nigel the space.
We work with individuals. Correct, yes.
And you're starting at 12?
We're starting at 10.
10?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
The
okay.
stage isn't here yet, so we might have to start a little bit later.
Okay, and they're going to close down the road?
That's right.
Okay.
I might march back.
I might march with you guys.
You should march with
now,
us.
Now, that's all the way down to FDR. That's 2 miles,
That's
right?
Yes.
I'm not that fit.
No, it's about, it's a little more. I think it's about 3 miles.
Oh, my God, that's even worse.
We did it yesterday. We're going to do it again today. And the most important reason we're doing it is because the symbolism is FDR. That we want FDR back.
That's right.
And there's no one that can do something like FDR pulled off other than Bernie Sanders. And maybe he might even pick Jill Stein as his running mate.
Yeah, there you go.
That'd be
there you
guarantee.
go.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm Daniel Curcio.
Hey.
I'm a national organizer.
All right, I'm Nigel, otherwise known
Nigel.
as That Fucking Aussie.
Hey, and Steve is the national organizer as well. We're 2
Hey,
national
Steve.
organizers for the organization.
Hey, Steve.
If you want to, he can talk to you too. I'm like
Great.
an interview.
All right, cool. Thank you. Hey, Steve. How you doing?
Not bad. How about
Good. I'm Nigel. I'm with Project Sanity. So we're just doing some streaming. Nice to meet you, man.
Pleasure.
You're on the air here. So streaming away. You're one of the organizers.
Correct. Yep.
Great.
Yep.
And tell me a little bit about what you're hoping to achieve today.
Okay. So with the recent primary that just occurred, obviously the emails that came out as well,
Oh yeah.
this proved that it was rigged. I mean, especially a party that calls itself a Democratic Party
Yes.
that operates like this in a completely undemocratic fashion. That's what we're actually fighting against.
Right.
Of course, the solidarity and everyone coming together. We hope to actually present that like the power of our movement
Yes.
and the will of the people is not to have rigged elections. I mean, I've
Right.
had friends that oversaw the elections in Iraq. It said that it was conducted better than the primaries that were happening.
Crazy,
here.
right?
We have a problem whenever that's
Yeah,
occurring.
no, absolutely. Absolutely, I agree. It should be one person, one vote, right? So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. And you're starting out about 10, but they said they were a bit late with the stage.
Yeah. Hey, things happen, but I guess what they did was they set it up on the wrong side of the city hall.
Oh. Okay.
So they're coming right now. They're just a little bit of a delay. They're going to set everything up here, and once they do that, we'll get everything set up and get everything underway.
Great. Well, I'm probably going to march with you guys, but at 3 o'clock I've got to be down at the Wells Fargo Center to actually hopefully get inside the convention and do some
Awesome,
footage.
man.
So hopefully, if my production team comes through, if they're listening, they better come through. All right.
I got
Thanks.
you.
I'm probably going to march with you guys when you start.
Hey, we're glad to have you, man.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
coming out, all right?
Thank you. All right. So there we go, guys. So that's just a little preview. They'll be starting soon, and as soon as they start, I'll just put myself on camera here so you can see me. As soon as they start, that we're going to get ourselves in the march. We're going to do a 3-mile hike down to FDR Park, marching with the Equality Coalition, and get the footage there, talk to some people, some more people. And right now I'm just going to communicate with my production crew.
And welcome back. You were just with Nigel, that Farkin RC. Oh, Aussie. I'm sorry, it's inappropriate. And we're seeing some talk about Tim Kaine and Hillary Clinton's response to the email scandal. No one believes that Hillary Clinton does not know about this. No one. If you believe that, I cannot express how naive that is, because it's obvious that she knew, because she immediately hired Debbie Wasserman Schultz after. And even if you look at the language within that press release that she gave, she said continue to act as a surrogate, not she will now serve as a surrogate for the Clinton administration. I'm sorry, the Clinton candidacy. She will continue to act as a surrogate. So there is this very obvious, complicitness, I guess, with the DNC. This was obvious colluding, even if it's not illegal, because I don't think it's technically illegal in any way that would get anyone some imprisonment. It is definitely worthy of a long conversation within the Democratic Party amongst those who even support Hillary Clinton over the judgment, the integrity, the secure, the sort of self-esteem of a candidate. Like, if you felt you were going to win anyway, which has been the Clinton drumbeat this entire time. I'm going to win. I'm going to beat Trump. I'm going to beat Sanders. No one can do better than me. I'm so experienced for this job. Why collude? Why not just play fair? Why do all of this? And it really does speak to how weak of a candidate she is, and how weak of a candidate that the DNC knows she is. They needed to manipulate the primary in order to give the appearance of a more decisive victory, in order to motivate the base and to attract more people, and let's be honest, to demotivate the Sanders supporters. This entire Democratic primary system, primary campaign, has been about demotivating, disenchanting the Sanders progressives, and showing that, and making them feel more marginalized than they already were. And yeah, it's fraud, maybe not in the sort of legal definition. Maybe not in the legal definition, I'm not a lawyer, but in the sort of colloquial one, we all know that this is fraud, that the entire DNC head, I don't know what they are. I guess the board of directors, because they have a CEO, CFO, they have all these people who work there, needs to be removed from their positions of power, and there needs to be a restructuring. And I've heard Tulsi Gabbard's name being thrown around for the new head of the DNC from progressive. People want Tulsi Gabbard there. I'm sure people would like Nina Turner to have a position of power in the DNC to make sure stuff like this does not happen. But ultimately, I think that there are some good aspects of this leak. There are some good aspects of Sanders' response to this leak. Personally, I think Sanders' response was very weak-willed and almost disrespectful to his supporters and to the American people. because it wasn't just him who was cheated, it was us. We were cheated out of a fair primary system, and for him to put forth this regal disappointed father routine is is to minimize what actually happened, which was it was a wholesale highway robbery of the American people's trust. So I think that in that way, Sanders has disappointed me very, very strongly. And I'm sure he's disappointed a lot of you out there by continuing to endorse not only someone who played dirty in the sort of, negative campaign, you're a misogynist, you love guns, you didn't respond fast enough to Sandy Hook way, but actually colluded with the DNC to rig certain aspects of the race, collude with the media to control his coverage. I think his response needed to be a little bit stronger. But we're seeing a lot of blowback from, typical Hillary Clinton supporters in the media. Anderson Cooper came out and said this was gross. I think that Sanders' response was very genial, very reserved, very respectful, and it did paint him as a more sympathetic character. Unfortunately, I'm not looking for a sympathetic character to be our president. I'm looking for a strong president, a strong progressive voice in the candidacy. I don't think that Sanders should continue to make himself a martyr for this cause, this sort of a martyr for this cause of proving how corrupt the DNC actually is. But I think at the end of the day, this has demonstrated exactly how that the DNC, the Democratic Party, might be unsalvageable. That they are in collusion with the media, they are in collusion with the candidates, certain candidates as part of the establishment, and that it may actually be an unsalvageable situation that we have within the Democratic Party. Something I feel, and I think it's something a lot of people can resonate with now. My biggest fear about this leak is the way it's going to be used against Clinton within the general election, the general debates. Now, I've said this before, so if you've watched before, you're absolutely going to hear this again. I'm going to keep hammering it home. Trump is going to play up this cheating day in and day out. He's been calling her crooked since the beginning, and now he is going to play up how the DNC and the Hillary Clinton campaign were actually in bed together in cheating. And you're going to hear it a lot. You're going to hear she's a cheater. You're going to hear she doesn't deserve to be here. You're going to hear him make appeals to disillusioned Sanders supporters, although I'm a Sanders supporter, although now I'm voting for Stein because Sanders' response to this has been a little bit. Sanders' response to this leak has made me less engaged with him and made me, be less amenable to his position because I just feel like he could have been better about this. But I think there's going to be a certain group of people now who were less, amenable to changing their side from Sanders to Trump, who are now going to change their side from Sanders to Trump. And I don't think it's going to be a large amount of people because a lot of people, they just don't like what he stands for. But certain people, I think, after this revelation, are going to be willing to burn the house down. And I think that was the biggest mistake of the DNC party. That was the biggest miscalculation on their part. They did not want to make people feel as though the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And I think they've accomplished that with this sort of collusion, this sort of overt cheating. Let's call it like it is. They were cheating. They were doing something that was very, very clearly not impartial, not neutral. They were violating their own charter, and they were violating their promise, their written promise to the people they proposed to be representing. Now, I think that is going to be something they're going to have to contend with in the general election. I think that's going to lose Hillary Clinton some votes. That's going to lose Hillary Clinton some votes that she would have gained from Sanders, and that's going to lose her some votes that she already had, but that were more tentative. So, yeah, she gave she gave Trump a lot more support than he was going to get from a Sanders resignation, because Sanders looks more sympathetic. And it's like Stokely Carmichael said, if you can't eat at the table, you might as well flip the table over. So I am now more sympathetic people who are going to be voting Trump, who are going to be voting simply to spite Clinton. And I think that to pretend like there is not going to be people who are now voting not to be anti-establishment, not to be anti not to be racist, not to be sexist, not to be any of these things other than I don't like Clinton, I don't like the DNC, I want them to lose. And that's going to be a dangerous thing to, that's a dangerous coalition to create because now you have a coalition of people who are voting specifically to make sure Clinton loses and for a legitimate reason. I'm going to be joined by Dave here, Dave Conan, in a few seconds. He's going to join me to give a little bit of his commentary, his view on this issue. Let's go to some of the comments we have so far in the chat. See what's going on. Bernie needs to man up by Kiss Key City. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. Yeah. He needs to bring out a little. He needs to bring out the big guns. He should have brought the big guns in the beginning, and I can understand him wanting to stick to his principles, but at a certain point, I have to question how much he was actually motivated to do the right thing. Because I understand for some people the ends don't justify the means, but you can't be a reasonable person in an unreasonable time. And Sanders came into a fight where everyone agreed to, Sanders came into a fist fight where everyone agreed to not bring weapons, and he didn't bring a weapon, and everyone else brought weapons, and he decided not to go get one. So at a certain point, he made himself a martyr for this cause, a martyr for fair politics, in a way that I think devalues how much hope people had in him. But again, Sanders is not. I think people misidentified Sanders as this ideological socialist. He's this really, he's a socialist. He's bound to that ideology, and then they heard it from the right, they heard it from the left. Sanders is, I'm going to be honest with you, Sanders is not that big of a socialist. I'm a socialist. Sanders is not talking about nationalizing any utilities. Sanders is not talking about anything that a reasonable country in Europe does not have already. Free college, free public college, single payer healthcare, single payer, rebuilding infrastructure, not blowing things up overseas. He's not talking about anything that, I don't want to say real countries, but he's not talking about something that Scandinavia doesn't have. He's not talking about something that the UK doesn't have. He's not talking about something that France does not have. He's talking about the United States catching up to the rest of the world in terms of its social programs, its public policy, its public health issues. And that's the frightening part. The establishment is desiring to keep us in the 1920s, not even 1920s, because in the 1920s we saw booms in industry. The establishment is wants to send us back to the 1800s in terms of where our infrastructure lies and how much we are spending on the public, on social security, the social safety net. But frankly, he was always more of a pragmatic populist. He wanted to instill social programs that would benefit the most people at the expense of the least people, raising taxes, all of these things, not even to an unreasonable amount. And I think that's where we have gotten to. Like he's been willing to endorse Hillary Clinton because that is the lesser of two evils policy he subscribes to. I think at the end of the day, Sanders himself is buying into this lesser of two evils voting strategy. And I don't think that's not indicative of an ideologue. Hillary Clinton is an ideologue. She is a neoliberal and a neoconservative fundamentalist. Trump is a narcissist. Ted Cruz was something. I mean, he looked like a melted candle, but he was actually kind of a psychopath. Maybe a sociopath. I'm not that kind of doctor. But frankly, Sanders, we can't become disenchanted with the way Sanders has gone, because it was that writing was on the wall from the beginning. Sanders was always very open and honest about what he was going to do. And it looks like Nick is back to join us. Yeah, Sanders could have built a third party, but that was not his goal, because he did not want to split the Democratic Party. Because let's be very frank, voting a third party this election cycle would have lost the Democrats the election guaranteed. It would have split the base. It would have split the vote. It would have been a Trump presidency, a Cruz presidency, and that was something Sanders never wanted. Sanders has already come out and said that he does not want to be the Cruz of the Democratic National Convention, and I believe that he will still endorse Hillary Clinton. Cruz might actually be the devil. So I don't know about that one. Like Hitler had some, for all Hitler did, which was awful. He got the trains to run on time. Cruz would not get the trains to run on time. If we had, Cruz is a very scary man. So we have NIST getting us back. And just to remind you, you're watching the Progressive Army. Project Sanity is hosting this morning. I am Brandon Sullivan. This is NIST Peterson, the Danish god that he is. Look at that hair. He's basically Thor. So NIST, welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for holding down the fort. I had to go to the bathroom while Nigel was doing his interviews, and then I had a very sick fiance that I had to check in on. So thank you for holding down the fort. I was just catching some of the last things you were saying, and I couldn't agree more that we have a kind of a double standard for Bernie Sanders, because Bernie Sanders was asked several times at the beginning of his campaign, are you going to run as a third-party candidate? And Bernie Sanders every time said no. Bernie Sanders every time said that Hillary Clinton would be 10 times the candidate that any of the candidates that the Republicans could marshal could be like. So even though we disagree with him on how he views Hillary Clinton, he was very much straightforward with us from the beginning about what he would do. Now, I agree with the sentiment that he could have started a third party, that instead of doing the Dean thing and going and saying, oh, okay, I'll take my loss, I'll accept the fact that the establishment completely and utterly screwed me over, and then I'll take that loss, and then I'll just take all my grassroots people and make it into a grassroots organization and call it a day. Instead of doing that, he could have birthed a third party, but that was never on his agenda that I know of. In any case, he has many times over said that he would not be responsible for a Republican in the White House, and that, yeah, and in that implies that he would see himself as the spoiler in case of a third-party run.
Absolutely. And some people are kind of saying that America already has lots of socialist policies, and they are absolutely right. America has plenty of socialist policies. We have plenty of policies like Social Security, Medicare, welfare, public education, the VA, the post office. Basically, we redistribute wealth all the time. It's called taxes. But at a certain point, this does not become an ideological thing. You don't describe, the post office as a socialist program because a state needs a post office. You have to have a post office. You can't not have a post office. And we're talking about the intersections of practicality and ideology. And the truth is that America is a socialist country in denial. The things that keep America going are its socialist programs. It's Social Security, it's welfare, it's food stamps, it's public utilities, it's roads. Roads are part of the welfare state. The FDA, water safety is part of the welfare state. But these things aren't called socialist anymore. These are just called state policies because you have to have them. You can't not have roads. And I think that we need to have an honest conversation about what socialism entails.
Well, I actually have seen quite a few threads on social media discussing calling these programs socialism, where there are quite a few people who object to this characterization of this as socialism because it detracts from what socialism actually is. And but both if you see socialism as an evil or as an absolute good, I can see that point. I would say that calling roads socialist, I would rather call roads communal. I would call them is essential to society functioning as a community. So instead of calling them socialist, you could call them societal or communal. But the principle behind socialism isn't just the principle of people pulling together their resources. There are many principles that go into socialism, like looking at the greater good more than at the individual good. Not saying that you don't believe in the individual, but that you would prioritize the greater good over the individual would be one thing going into that. And I don't know. Do you think that that kind of thinking can go into what's it called? Into the fire department?
I think that. Am I getting echo? I think that we can't become too mired in ideology. I think that that's where we get caught up in meaningless distinctions between things. And I agree with you, Nick. Some people are calling it a socialist policy. I would more turn towards what you're saying. These are things the state needs. These are things that any state would possibly, that any state, in order to exist and function at a, at a efficient level and keep people happy, would have to have. And whether you call them socialist or welfare state or capitalist or communist or whatever, you can't not have them. So they have to be integrated within whatever system you have as the backbone of the infrastructure of society. I think the problem becomes, as you mentioned, or as we mentioned earlier, and with you bring up the fire department, is that with the dissolution of not only state programs under Reagan, but also the sort of cultural shift that demonized state programs, people saw just rapid defunding of the state. And a lot of these things that we talk about now that the state runs, people don't really have a conception of all the state do properly. They don't have a conception of the fact that yes, the state, that's just a general amorphous term, is responsible for keeping your water clean. It's responsible for keeping your streets paved. It's responsible for you getting your mail on time. There's this disconnect between people and the activities of the state that just make it easier and easier to demonize the state and thus defund it. Could you run a private fire company? Sure, you could, but you would also need a public one. And I think that we've seen in situations where people in counties across America where they have defunded the fire company, and they have required people to actually pay fire dues. Like you pay into a due system in order to have the fire department come to your place if it's on fire, basically fire insurance, but in a more active way, that people don't pay and their house is burned down. And when the fire department comes and they don't put out the fire, people are just surprised. And this is the part of the state that we forget about, like that the human beings are sometimes incapable of planning for the worst or for everything, and that's why we have specialists there who tell us what we might need. So you can't ask someone when their house is not on fire, do they want to pay for fire insurance? Because a lot of people are like, no, my house is not on fire. Yes, that's something that the state is responsible for planning for these future scenarios, so that people do not have to in certain situations. Or even these, the state's also responsible for providing these services that people don't even know are services. And I think that is where our education system has failed, because it has failed to make people acutely aware of what the state and its apparatuses are doing. Like we have certain services that people don't even know about, and I think that it's made it very easy to demonize the state for services people do know about, like welfare and Social Security and all these other things that people view as entitlements. But the state entitles us to a lot of stuff. You're muted, Ness, and I know it's a secret, but you gotta share it. Secrets don't make friends.
But it's secret. Okay, so there's been some talk about fire departments, and Dave pointed out that the way fire department used to work, you needed a plaque on your wall to prove that you had paid your fire department dues. So a lot of these things that we are called state-run or necessity for the state to function and stuff like that are things that are actually quite new. We view the police as neutral, as their job is to protect and serve. Well, that was not always the case. As many of our viewers are already aware, a lot of police departments were founded to chase down runaway slaves and keep slaves in line. Other than that, you also have in more northern states where the police were there to keep gangs in line. And by gangs, we don't mean adolescent youth walking around with pocket knives. We're talking about hundreds of grown men banding together, arming themselves fully, and taking control of entire sections of towns. Um, so a movie that actually depicts this very in visual manners is the movie Gangs of New York. I can recommend it highly as a very good movie, but also as a movie that takes a very good jump off from history itself, where you see how the police force yes, they try and keep the peace in the streets as much as they can, but they are also the people who make their living taking money off of the smaller gangs, taking money off of civilians. But of course, not in the upscale neighborhoods, not from respectable white people, but from poor white people and minorities, they didn't give a shit. Fire departments used to fight each other over which house to get, who got to put out the fire in the house, because usually firemen, they burst in the houses not to put out the fire, but to be the first to get get valuables from the house. So there was, we have a lot of misconceptions about, oh, this is the way things have always been. The way that things are now are no more than 50, in some case 70 or 80 years old. We're not even talking about two grandmothers living back to back like with slavery. We're just talking a single 90-year-old grandmother for most of the things.
Yeah, that's true, and I think that we saw a lot of quick mobility from, the 30s to the 60s, so let's say 70s. We saw a lot of social mobility, a lot of the institution of a lot of programs. The New Deals gave way to the New Deal gave way to the Fair Deal. We saw a lot of programs that, yes, they were, targeted more towards white males, but they were good starts, and we expected them to see a little bit more of expanding. But then we got to the 80s, and we started rolling stuff back. We started deregulating and then re-regulating these programs so that we would be shifting. The war on poverty became the war on the poor. That's the old saying. Like, the war on poverty transformed to the war on the poor. The war on crime became the war on criminals. The drug war became the war on drug users, the war on addicts. And we just shifted the burden of social problem. We made every social problem we could think of, whether it be crime or addiction or poverty, a personal problem. Crime and poverty became indicative of personal failings or subcultural failings. You're poor because you're lazy. You're, criminal because you're inherently evil. You're all of these things not because society has, shuttled you into these positions, but because for whatever reason you were either born bad or you were educated in a subset of society that has bad moral or ethical values. And we need to reclaim, we need to come back together, and admit that a lot of our problems are social problems. They're not personal problems. They're not personal failures. If we have an education system where 50% of kids, as we do in Bushwick in New York City, because that's the case, New York City, in fact, has both the worst and best school districts in America, where you have places in like Bushwick, where we have 50% of people failing and dropping out of high school, and you have places like in some of Manhattan, Upper West Side, parts of Brooklyn, where you have basically 90% graduation rates. There's obviously inequality there. Inequality that is being maintained by, institutional racism, institutional classism, but also just personal, interpersonal, like, acts of domination and racism. We need to get back to this sort of coming together and viewing society as better than the sum of its parts.
Okay, so taking back problems of not just being personal responsibility, but the community being a part of it as well. If you heard some sound distortion earlier, that was Benjamin Dixon trying to join the Hangout. We are trying to get him to come on his own channel to give us an update on what he is seeing on the streets of Philadelphia. From what I could see, it seems like he was outside. Also, Lauren Steiner, a delegate from California, who has been involved in grassroots movements in California for the past decade, and who is, she's the kind of person who just who can simply talk anyone out of the room and get anyone to agree to almost anything. So we have both of these coming up. Benjamin, I don't know if you can hear me, but we see you in the Hangout call. We're trying to get you on screen. Can you hear us? Okay, it seems like Benjamin is having some connection issues. We are trying to bring him in. And we have...
Hello?
Yeah, I didn't realize.
Okay, Benjamin, you're going through. We just need Dave to mute this other.
You know what? I'm losing battery, guys. If you want me, you got to take me now.
Okay, Benjamin, can you wait until we've talked to Lauren? Is that okay? These two things just clashed.
No, go for it. Go for it.
Okay, thank you, man. Okay, we'll
just give you.
We'll be hearing from Lauren Steiner, and right after we will be hearing from Benjamin Dixon. Thank you to Benjamin for making room. Okay, guys, we have with us today Lauren Steiner, a delegate from California. She's been on the show before, on the Project Sanity show, giving us her thoughts and updates on the preparations for the conventions. Now she's actually at the convention. So we are very interested in hearing what's going on. Lauren, why don't you give us your take on what happened yesterday and give us your expectations for today.
Okay, so I'm here at the breakfast for the California delegation. It was quite eventful. when Nancy, excuse me, when Nancy Pelosi mentioned Tim Kaine, everybody started booing. When Alex Padilla came to the stage, he's the Secretary of State in California, everybody said, count the votes, count the votes. Everybody's been screaming out, Bernie, Bernie, Bernie. It's quite contentious here. You know, if they're hoping for any kind of unity on the part of the delegates, they're not getting it. I mentioned on the show yesterday that I was at the Rules Committee meeting where they voted on every single one of Bernie's platform planks, not platform planks, every one of Bernie's 4 amendments regarding changing the rules in favor of this BS Unity Reform Commission. And unfortunately, there were 57 people that had signed the minority report on the one amendment to eliminate superdelegates, and we all hoped that that was going to go to the floor. Even though we knew it was going to get voted down, we hoped that it would go to the floor. And then what I found out this morning was that 15 Bernie members took their name off it. So there were only like 40 votes, which wasn't the majority. I mean, it wasn't the 25% they needed to bring it to the floor. So basically, you know, there's not the platform, there's not going to be any floor fights over the rules, and it's just going to be one big kumbaya unity thing. Now, I tell you something, we delegates have something up our sleeves. I'm not at liberty to really speak about it right now, but, you know, I was interviewed on the media today, Channel 7, KABC TV News, and also NPR. They were concerned with what I thought about Debbie Wasserman Schultz being fired or resigning, and I said, well, basically, the email revelations are no news to Bernie, and because we knew she's been rigging this primary for Hillary from the start. Ironically, you know, she resigns from the DNC, and she immediately goes over to be the honorary chair of Hillary's campaign, basically formalizing what she's been doing formally for the past year. So, you know, she hasn't lost out, and who knows what the, you know, the public thinks of what's going on here. The other thing that, you know, they asked me was what I hoped, what the delegates hoped would be accomplished this week. And I said, well, obviously, we would like to see Bernie get the nomination. We would like the superdelegates to come to their senses and realize that Bernie has the best chance of beating Trump in the general election because these polls are very close, too close for comfort in my, and in some of the, did I lose you?
No, you're still here, Lauren. You're still here.
In some of these swing states, we actually have, Trump leading. So short of Bernie getting the nomination, what I hope will happen is that we get our issues to the floor, specifically 3 issues that Bernie chose not to introduce, Minority Reports in the platform: banning fracking, getting single-payer health care, and opposing TPP coming to the floor during the lame duck session of Congress.
Okay, Lauren, we have a question here from chat. You mentioned that there were some Bernie delegates taking their name off of the proposal to get concerning superdelegates, and that this resulted in it not having enough votes to make it to the floor. Do you have any idea why some Bernie delegates took their name off of this piece?
No, I actually don't. And I should say they're not necessarily delegates. People on the Rules Committee, there are people here who are committee members. They're either on the credentials, rules, or platform. So I don't necessarily know these people are delegates, but they are definitely on the Rules Committee. And I don't know who they are, but I'm going to try to find out, and I'm going to try to ask them. As you know, I've been posting those to my Facebook page. So as soon as I find that out, I will do an interview with them, see what their thinking was, and I will post it to my Facebook page, and I will tag Dave.
Okay, thank you. So for those of you listening, that's Lauren Steiner, the California delegate. You can go to her Facebook page, and she will keep everyone updated on the goings-on through there and through giving Dave some updates. So Lauren, we've been hearing all sorts of different ideas about what's going to happen at the convention today. There's been some mentions of coordinated simply shouting down speakers, and there are mentions of walkouts. Can you give us any idea of what to expect from today?
Nix looks like she dropped.
Okay, it seems like we lost Lauren. She did mention that she had low battery, but we are joined by Benjamin Dixon. So Benjamin, why don't you give us an update on what you've been seeing and hearing today?
Hey guys, I think you passed it to me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. All right. So far this morning, there's a gathering in Roosevelt Park, in front of Camden City Hall, and this is a march for Bernie, headed by Black Men for Bernie. They're expecting about I think 15,000 people to participate in this march. It hasn't started yet. If it's anything like yesterday, yesterday we saw a march of about 5,000 people. I would say between 25 and 5,000. I've heard estimates of a little bit more, but I think it's between that number. It was a very rowdy protest, very pro-Bernie, but also bigger than Bernie. And I think that's the biggest thing, the takeaway we've seen so far up here, is that the revolution, even though they're chanting for Bernie, they're definitely mobilized to go beyond whatever Bernie's decision is. So if they choose to not, if Bernie doesn't disavow tonight, I don't think the revolution that's here present in Philadelphia is going to change their mind or follow Bernie. But there's a lot of love for him, a lot of support for the movement, and we're expecting that same type of energy from there. So when this rally starts, we'll start broadcasting and streaming live and try to send you guys the video of it. Yesterday was a beautiful protest, and to hear a lot of delegates basically saying that they were going to take it to the floor. So you don't see this type of energy for anything about Hillary Clinton around here. Nothing. Not even remotely. So of course they're going to simulate some energy inside of the hall tonight, inside of the actual convention. Yeah, but in terms of the people and the people on the streets, the energy is 100% around Bernie. And even if Bernie does not get somehow a magical nomination, even endorse Hillary Clinton, the movement is beyond that and bigger than him. So I just want to say to those people, is that let's not be mad. No matter what Bernie does, he has given us a movement, a progressive movement like we've never had before, and that's what we're seeing out here.
Okay, so speaking to that, you tweeted earlier today, I saw a tweet from you about Cenk Uygur and other people holding speeches about this fact, about moving forward after this. Can you tell us a bit about that speech, where it was taking place and how it was to attend it?
Yeah, so that was a second rally last night inside of, I forgot the name. Yeah, what was the name of the Vernon Park in Philly, out in West. Excellent event. I would say there was only about 1,500 people there, which was still a great turnout. It was headed by Yane, and I can never pronounce her last name, so I shouldn't even try it. But it was a great event. Danny Glover was there, Susan Sarandon was there, Cenk Uygur, Ben Jealous, just a list of top progressive voices. They showed up and really spoke life into the movement in general, but the rally last night was about climate change and saving the environment, banning of fracking. So it was very focused on that, but then they drew the intersection between how that affects every other demographic, every other intersection.
Okay, sounds good. Wish I could be there, man. We are really looking forward to hearing from you during the day, seeing any interviews or anything we can get lined up. Is there any events that you are for sure going to be attending and getting us footage from that you can tell us about?
We're going to have somebody at each of the rallies. So we'll get you constant coverage from the rallies. That flow, if it's there, of course, we'll be there and bring you what we can. There's a rally tonight during Bernie's speech where people will be gathering, progressives will be gathering to listen to Bernie's speech, those that cannot get access. So from top to bottom, whatever's happening, we'll be there.
Okay, sounds good, Benjamin. Thank you for...
Okay, I'm sorry, 1 second. I just got a word on. 3 p.m. Bernie's addressing all his delegates. We'll get something. Okay, so 3 p.m. Bernie's addressing all of his delegates, and we'll have some streaming from there too.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Okay, man. Thank you for checking in. Looking forward to hearing more from you on the ground in Philadelphia.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you, man. This is the Progressive Army and Project Sanity's coverage of the Philadelphia DNC convention and all the events surrounding it. With me today, we have Benjamin Dixon, we have Dave Conan from Project Sanity, we have Brandon, who has been joining me co-hosting, and behind the scenes we have Dave Conan, we have Eric Miller, and we have Progressive Greens. Later this evening we will have Anoa and Nick and possibly Michael from the Louisa Project. And we'll be giving you updates throughout the day on what's going on in Philadelphia. Once again, if you have the opportunity to help us finding feeds, finding events, please do so. Periscope feeds, YouTube feeds, don't matter what feeds, as long as it's not commercialized feeds like CNN, ABC, and that kinds of feeds. Those we cannot use because they want money from us and we don't have any to give them. And we're trying to get Harrison and Nigel close to the Jill Stein campaign during the day. And tomorrow we are working on to bring an exclusive interview with Jill Stein and the Stein campaign. We have several contacts in the Stein campaign, very unprecedented for a grassroots media organization such as ours to actually gain that kind of access. So stay with us throughout the day, and do your part to help us bring the best show about Philadelphia, about the goings-ons in Philadelphia that you can. My name is Nis Vincent Peterson. I am the co-host and co-founder of Project Sanity, and you have heard from the California delegation, Benjamin Dixon. Earlier today, we had Nigel talking with the people on the ground, and coming up in the day are the protests, the marches, and the speeches on the floor. And as we heard from Lawrence Steiner, it seems like the Bernie delegation is being slightly outmaneuvered vis-a-vis the rules and procedures of the DNC convention, but that they are not in any way, shape, or form giving up without a fight. That they are most likely gonna take this all the way to Thursday, and we're going to see what happens if the DNC continues to ignore the Bernie Sanders delegates. A walkout has been talked about on social media quite a bit. What that would entail and what would happen as a cause of it is anyone's guess if it happens. Brandon, what are your impressions on what Lawrence Steiner and Benjamin talked about?
Well, I think it's not to be unexpected. We knew that we knew that the DNC from the beginning had been colluding with Hillary Clinton. We knew that this convention was more of a dog and pony show to coronate her as the nominee. Bernie was shifted to out of a primetime slot, which is unprecedented for the second place candidate. I'm sorry, the second place candidate in the primary to be shifted to a 3 p.m. slot, if I'm not mistaken. And I think that a lot of people, a lot of Bernie delegates, a lot of people who agreed to vote, who bleed Bernie, as you'd call it, are disappointed with the way he's reacted to these email leaks. I think they're disappointed that he might still endorse Hillary Clinton. Jill Stein has called for him to rescind his endorsement, which I think would, I don't know if it, I struggle to know if it would do more or less damage for the DNC party. I guess people would, I don't know if the people who were going to vote for her anyway are being really swayed by his desire to endorse her, but I know it just looks, it looked bad before, but now it just looks worse. And I think a lot of delegates who supported Bernie are willing to, like as Benjamin said, to go beyond Bernie now. I think it's time to move past him. He's proven himself to be the catalyst, the spark for a fuel that was building, for a feeling that was building for a long time in America. That's great, but it seems that he's reached his limit for what he is willing to do in order to make sure that this cycle ends, and that is fine. But we can't become disillusioned by the fact that Bernie has decided to not compete. We have got to get past Bernie. We have to get past the sort of lesser two evils politics.
I completely agree. The lesser of two evil, especially growing up in a multi-party democratic system, to me makes no sense. I'm used to there being 7, 8, and 9 political parties that you choose between and that you vote for, and that it's not winner takes all voting, but where you have rules set up for how many votes are necessary to get a seat in parliament, and there are rules for if you don't get quite enough, but other people also don't get quite enough, where do those seats then go, how are they allocated, so that no seat is ever empty, and that the majority just doesn't just take everything, and where then the people who are in parliament then decides, okay, so the prime minister is the head of this party because this party with the other parties backing it are saying that this is the prime minister. And you could then say, but then it's out of the hands of the people. Well, no, because you know who the biggest party in each coalition is before the voting starts, the polling shows it, the everything shows it. So you already know that the head of party A and the head of the party B, representing each of the two major coalitions, are the two major contenders for the PMC. Voting in this manner makes sure that as many votes as possible are counted, so that you can always look to someone and say, that is a person who represents me and my beliefs. You won't ever have to look at a senator and going, oh, he represents me, but he's vile, abhorrent, and stands for everything that I'm against and believe is evil in the world. And that's it, but he's my representative.
Yes, that sounds really complicated. That sounds like in that system, that you could vote for someone who has similar political beliefs to you, and that those beliefs could be, nuanced. You could vote for a party that is socially liberal but economically conservative. You could vote for a party that is, you know, that is basically a one-issue party, a climate change party. A party that, a party that's only meant to, push forth legislation to correct, carbon emissions. You could vote for a party that is judicially conservative but economically liberal but socially moderate. That's really, really complicated. Would you not prefer to live in a country where basically all we have is the, Coke or Pepsi? Wouldn't you prefer that? Wouldn't you prefer to live in a party where each party's ideology is both vague and antagonistic? It makes things so much easier. And you can point to the other person and say, well, they're racist, and you can point to the other person and say, they're godless heathens. And it's
Yeah, but I like freedom. I like having freedom and having liberty. So I prefer the other method of rules-laden democracy in which there's room for nuance.
that sounds really complicated, especially considering that Americans as political engagement happens only once every 4 years. It sounds like in your system you'd have to really keep track of things, and that you couldn't just assume that because someone put a D by their name that they were representing things that you represented. So I don't know if
In the defense of America, I would say that our media also do that thing where they put the letter for the party next to the person, and then it says PM after the name, so you know it's a member of parliament. And then you look at that letter, going, "Oh, that's someone from the party I voted for. I agree with that person." Of course, we have those people.
absolutely, but those parties stand for something, as opposed to not them. That's what the Democrats stand for, not them. Have you read? I mean, I don't think we've talked about this on the program. Have you read the platforms for the Republican National Convention and the Democratic National Convention? Because they are just gold. They are like the Republican platform is 68 pages of just well polished nonsense, and the
Yeah, I
Democratic,
remember you characterizing it at some point as well organized crazy.
yeah, and I think like the actual written platforms. For our viewers, if you have not read the platforms, you should go out and read them. They're available online. The last Democratic platform I read came out on the 1st of July, and it was a draft. So I do not know if it is still in that state. It might be different. For what I'm going to describe here is what I read. So the Republican platform and the Democratic platform are basically great analogies for each party. The Republican platform is professional looking, well polished, very well done, well written. A few like hokey colloquialisms, but the actual substance of it is pure racism and sexism and craziness. It promotes some vague form of Christian Science, where if you don't agree with what the doctor recommendation for your child with cancer is, you can decide to not get them that treatment and pray it away. It calls porn a public health crisis, which I don't know. I mean, a public health crisis. That's a bit strong. Uh, it calls for an end to gay marriage. It calls for end to basically gay adoption as well. Although it does have good parts, it calls for a reinstatement of Glass-Steagall. That is very. It does call for a reinstatement of Glass-Steagall. It calls for Puerto Rico to be given statehood.
Mm-hmm.
It calls for which is which would help them in their bid to fix their bankruptcy problems. It calls for increased protections for Native American peoples, the American tribes. The Democratic Party platform, on the other hand, is incredibly vague and incredibly poorly written and incredibly hard to read. But it assures you that they do believe in the right things. And I think that is what we should take away from those platforms. The Democratic platform constantly refers back to the Republican platform for why a Democratic Party is a legitimate party. Like the Democratic Party requires the Republican there to be there in order to legitimize themselves, and that is why this two-party system is also their fault. And I refuse to feel sympathy for people like representative from Atlanta. Oh my God, who sat down during the gun control, thing. I cannot remember his name, but whatever. I refuse to feel sympathy for the Democrats who point to the Republican Party and their obstructionism as why they can't get anything done, especially when they've propped up that system.
Mm-hmm.
And that their entire platform is so reliant on their being Republicans. Like if you ask no one, like it seems as though no one can tell you why you should vote for Hillary Clinton unless you reference Trump. And when your entire platform is a reference to the other party, yeah, it's antagonistic. It's like they're being defined by what they are not, and that's a very dangerous party to be a part of, where you're simply defined as we're not them. You can you know that they're bad, but we're not them, so you have to assume that we are better.
Yeah. Okay, guys, this is the Progressive Army and Project Sanity bringing you live weekly coverage of the DNC convention in Philadelphia. We are simul broadcasting to the Benjamin Dixon Show and the Project Sanity channel, which you can find on projectsanity.org. I am Nis Vincent Peterson, and you can find me on Twitter at Scandianvia or Facebook at Scandinavian Perspective. With me today is Brandon Sutton, a BS Opinion in chat, and PS a BS Opinion on Twitter. In the back room is Eric Eric Miller and Dave Conan doing amazing production and social media tweeting. Looking for Periscope feeds and hopefully reaching out to guests and booking guests by looking into our contact sheets. Earlier today, we've had some touch-ins with Nigel. We've had some touch-ins with a Washington delegate called Lauren Steiner, and we've had a touch-in with Benjamin Dixon, talking about the upcoming marches, the marches yesterday, and what the feeling on the ground is about Bernie Sanders and about moving forward if he does not disavow the delegation. I mean, Brandon, do you actually think that we could get to see Bernie Sanders being booed by his own delegates?
Before I address that, the Democratic platform for 2016 is a thinly veiled threat. That is what it is. It's a thinly veiled threat to the people that if they don't vote for us, you'll get Trump. That's all it is. It doesn't have any platform. It doesn't have any prescription for society. It's just a very thinly veiled threat. Do I think that people will boo Bernie Sanders? Yes, absolutely. I think that if he continues with his endorsement of Hillary Clinton, we were going to see Bernie delegates. We're going to see progressives booing Bernie Sanders, and I think that he rightfully so. I think that that is a completely reasonable thing to do, considering everything that's happened.
Okay. So in chat we have some people talking about this platform, and it doesn't seem like a lot of people are giving a lot of credence to the platforms, no matter what is in them. What would you say to that?
Oh yeah, they're just ideals. Like no one is going to do anything in the platforms. But it's good to see what each party stands for, and it's good to see what they are promising, because what they are willing to promise you, what they are putting forward as their ideals for the world, is indicative of something. They're not going to do them, and that's why when people were talking about getting Bernie Sanders' goals on a platform, I was like, why would you care? They're not going to. The platform is non-binding. They're just it's just a list of vague things we can all agree are good and we would like to see, but they're not going to fight for any of them. And so, but I think the value in them comes from here's what each party believes, and here's what each party is putting forward as their ideal America. And the Republicans have a view of an ideal America, and it is very scary. And the Democrats don't have a view of an ideal America, or rather, they're unwilling to express it in clear language because their ideal economically is not much different from the Republican Party. But they can assure us wholeheartedly that they are not Republicans. And that seems to be the that seems to be the DNC and Hillary Clinton's campaign slogan, not Republican. Mm-hmm. Or technically not Republican.
Okay, so what I don't get then is if the platform is so unimportant, why the Hillary campaign is not just giving the platform to Bernie Sanders. Say, here, write any crazy shit you want. We're not going to do any of it anyway, but here, you put whatever you want in it.
It's pride. I mean, have we not seen that over and over again? Like the hubris of the Clinton campaign, this feeling of just bulletproofness. There is no need to concede anything to anybody because it's an entitlement complex. Anytime you are fighting for a meaningless victory, you have some sort of entitlement complex. Because you're right, it's meaningless. She could have let Bernie Sanders write the whole thing and then done nothing. So the desire to keep it the way it is just a power play. This is all about power. This is all about maintaining the illusion that he's in control.
Okay, guys, we have a breaking news segment here. Dave, can you grab this link here from Twitter? It doesn't seem it has 0 brands on it whatsoever. We should be able to show this, no problem. If you can get the link for this, it seems like the outgoing DNC chairwoman, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, is booed off stage at her own Florida delegation breakfast. So Dave, if you can cue this up, we would very much like to show this.
Also, it's about not upsetting her corporate donors, obviously. While the platform is meaningless, it would make her corporate donors incredibly insecure about her dedication to them. So that's another reason why she would not concede any of the platform to Bernie Sanders. We saw the reaction from banks regarding the Glass-Steagall amendment being placed in the Republican National Convention platform.
Okay. And I think Dave is just about ready. It looks really good, Dave. Let's get it on. While David finalizes, I don't know if people, let me know when you're ready, Dave. When people are talking about voting for the lesser of two evils, there has been this hashtag Cthulhu 2016 been going on for quite some time. It's also been going on through the nomination process, but we can talk about that after the clip. Dave is ready, so David, you just transition in and take over. Okay, not really able to get a word in edgewise there. Just booze, booze, and booze at her own breakfast, where she's trying to do a pep speak about she'll be out there working for Hillary Clinton. I mean, how do they not realize how unpopular they've become? How do they not realize that this is not for funsies, that this is not a small segment of Greens or a small segment of environmentalists booing in the corner of the back room? How are they not realizing that what's been going on in this primary, this Democratic primary, has ticked off millions of people who would otherwise happily be voting for them? How can this level of denial be going on?
Because they're just not in that world. That is not the world they live in. You're talking about basically, how does the king not know he is unliked by the peasants because he only hangs out with the aristocracy? if you only spend time with people who think and act like you, then you become unaware of like you become myopic. They don't spend time with those people like that. Like they don't spend time, and like that's why they come. You saw with Bill Clinton as well. When they come into the public light and they get these boos and they get these like chants of like you're a racist, Black Lives Matters, crime bill, super predator. They raise their hackles because they've never heard this. They become offended by the very idea that people do not like them because that's just not the world they live in 90% of the time. And I think that is the biggest example of why we need a new Congress, why we need a new leadership, because they are just so out of touch with the populace that the very notion that people don't like them is completely foreign to them. But the Dreadlord Cthulhu knows, he just does not care. The Dreadlord Cthulhu, he sleeps beneath the ocean.
Oh my god. Okay, so guys, we have a video we unfortunately can't show, but if you go on Twitter and find @WeLoveBernie1, and that's one as in the number, not the typing out one-O-N-E. We Love Bernie 1. There's a tweet there where they show AJ Plus, an AJ Plus interview in which Debbie Wasserman Schultz calls it a conspiracy theory that she would in any way be for Hillary Clinton, that it would be a conspiracy theory that she in any way would be not be impartial. So, but as we've been talking about during both yesterday evening and today, this doesn't really matter. Like it's like when Jon Stewart used to do these reels of gotcha moments, where he showed again and again and again how someone would be vehemently against a kind of behavior, a kind of attitude, that you can't be like this. For example, Sean Hannity lamenting on defending George Bush doing certain things, and then now that Obama is doing some of those things, he can't have it. It's treasonous. It's incompetence, and he should resign and stuff like that. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many times you prove these buffoons wrong. It's like we're already living in the dread future of idiocracy, in which the lowest common denominator is getting elected simply because they're more populous. It's like the old saying of when they say, I can't remember it verbatim, but don't engage in arguments with stupid, because they will drag you down to their level and beat you with experience. And it seems like it's everywhere. It's no matter what you do, you can't tag anyone, even when you can see them simply dripping in corruption and lies and conspiracies. There's still no accountability. It's disheartening. It's one of the things that makes people stay home. And the establishment would then perhaps say, well, then why don't we just keep doing it? If we dishearten enough people and everyone stays home, then it's only people who actually believe our BS who will be out there voting for us. Isn't that a much easier world to live in? For a period of time, sure, that would be an easy world for you to live in. But at some point, the disheartened people, hope turns into disheartenment, turns into anger, frustration, and when that has simmered long enough beneath the surface, it boils over and comes up, and then you will reap what you have sowed. So I would say, hurry up and reform. Okay, so Eugene Debs said that she had found evidence that the Koch brothers are now financially supporting Hillary Clinton. There is an article on zerohedge.com on this. We have not vetted this article yet, but if you're interested in reading more about this, you can take the link that Eugene Debs got a hold of in the chat. I'll post a link in our own research and ask people to take a look at it if it's something that actually seems like it's true. that this site is reporting. So if the Koch brothers are actually giving money to Hillary Clinton and Hillary Clinton is not throwing the money back at them, then she is really going to start having a problem. Or is she? Brandon, what are your thoughts? Could she be tagged with Koch brother money? Is that unpopular enough?
I don't think at this point there is anything that could make her less popular. And I remember months ago, I bet one of my professors that this would happen. This exact thing would happen. And he gave me a list of reasons why it would not happen, and no, it would be easier for them to not fund her because it makes her look worse. But I think if the Koch brothers are funding her, what that says to me is that she's doing so poorly that they are afraid she will lose the job, and that it's worth the risk to them to be associated with her because it can only help her with having more money at the end of their life.
Okay.
I mean, whether
yeah, keep going, man.
yeah, I'm sorry, I hear a little bit of echo, but I think that with the money, if she received money from the Koch brothers, it's an admission that she is in trouble, and that should be taken for what it is. That her faith in her ability to beat Donald Trump, just like her faith in her ability to beat Bernie Sanders, is quite low because she's not a particularly good politician. So she needs all the help she can get. But I think even without the money, we can assume that after she was courting Jeb Bush support financial donors months ago. She was courting the typical Democratic donors months ago. So this is not anything new. It's just the Koch brothers themselves are a very toxic name to have associated with them. But at this point, so is Clinton. But there's no proof of this yet, so it's better to keep our minds open to the idea that this is just a rumor that sounds plausible. But I would say the fact that it sounds plausible is a big enough indication of what people think about her in general. That people are not, this is impossible. So she would never take Koch brother money. They're like, we need to do more research on this. You're muted, Nis, and secrets don't make friends. So if you're going to talk about it.
Yeah, we need to shine some light. Okay, sorry guys, there's a lot of stuff going on all at once. We have an upload from Benjamin Dixon that he wants us to stream, so I know that Dave is going to get right on getting that ready. And Nigel's phone has somehow died, and he's not able to get it quickly repaired. So we now have a very unforeseen problem with getting Nigel in contact with the Stein campaign to bring events from what they're doing today, but we are trying our very best to get them connected so that we can bring you news from the Jill Stein campaign as well. So the back room needs to somehow get on that. I don't know who has the contact info for Stein. I believe that's both Dave and Brandon. You both have the contact info for that. So try and figure out a way to put Nigel into contact with them via Google Hangout or something or other. He seems to be able to talk there. So while Dave is getting this uploaded package from Benjamin ready, I will say that this is, for me, this is an amazing example of what you can do when you're working together. Yes, it's rough around the edges. Yes, we have a lot of and trying to figure out what's going on. And there was another, we're doing what we can. We are working together as closely as we can. We've never tried to do a project of this size, this magnitude before. We have never tried to work together in this close way before. So with the exception of Project Sanity, where we are about 8 people working together on a daily basis, the Progressive Army as an entity, not that it really is an entity yet, but at least as a unit, as a Twitter sharing, channel sharing collective, has never tried to do anything like this before. So we are, I'm very positively surprised that we are able to actually put this together. So for those of you still with us, thank you for staying with us. And while we are queuing up the video, let me just remind us of what we're looking at here. We are looking at Michael Salomone, the Podcast Revolution, and Benjamin Dixon on the ground, and Nigel Harrison as well on the ground, trying to bring us live feed from the marches. Grandma Christine 42 just completely cracked me up there. I love it when a plan falls apart like this. Yeah, thanks a lot for that, Grandma Christine 42. We love it too. But this is the Progressive Army and the Project Sanity Show's weekly coverage of the Democratic Convention. My name is Nis Vincent Peterson. You can find me at Scandianbia or on Facebook, Scandinavian Perspective. With me today is Brandon, keeping me alive and keeping me sane. You can find Brandon PS/a BS opinion on Twitter. He's a regular contributor and was also 2 days ago, he was in Philadelphia for a press conference and for the People's Convention and for Jill Stein press conference, which you can find on the projectsanity.org channel. In the back room is Dave Conan and Eric Miller, also from Project Sanity, and we will, later this evening, we will be bringing you Anoa Chanka from The Way with Anoa and Michael from the Louisa Project 2027. And Dave, how is that? He is still trying. My name is Dave.
Yes, I am trying. I'm going online to my voice. I'm trying to get this video. I have downloaded. It's not a link, so I'm trying to get the media up into the OBS, and I'm having a little trouble. So I don't know if it's ready to go or not, but we can try.
Okay, we're gonna try yeah, okay. We are getting from the people, they're telling that the rough edges are fine and that what we're doing is good. So at least we have a very forgiving audience.
I'm gonna go ahead and try to cut to this video.
Yes, cut to it and let's see how it goes.
Sorry, guys, I don't think I'm getting any sound with the video. I'm still working on that.
Okay, so seems like we're having some sound issues. So are you guys? It seems like there's no one in the chat complaining about the lack of sound, Dave.
I don't.
Oh, okay, yeah, it was there. Okay, the sound was there. I just didn't hear it.
Okay, so roll it again, man.
I stand by. Roll again.
Put it on the TV. And you'll see them love it. should be talking about next Democratic National Convention is telling Hillary to sit her ass down and letting Bernie come up as our nominee. And that's all we want to hear. And if that's not going to happen, the Democratic Party will be lucky if we leave them with 5% of a party. And I wish.
There you have it, folks. Nothing quite as powerful as an impassioned black man preaching. I gotta say that was amazing. That was that got me fired back up. I gotta say that if there is enough people like that inside the convention saying Bernie or bust, then we gotta. I mean, we have a chance. We gotta have a chance. Okay, Brandon, what was your impression of this man's speech?
Well, first of all, I don't even believe that he exists because he's not white and he's Bernie. So I think this is obviously a conspiracy.
Okay, can you answer it without being a complete dick?
This is obviously conspiracy. Black Men for Bernie is obviously conspiracy composed by the Russians and cultists to make Hillary Clinton seem as though she is not a candidate for black people. But if we can, I'll pretend like this is real for your sake. No, it was a very powerful speech, and I think that Bernie has made people ignited, and I think that not only has Bernie made people ignited, the response to Bernie from the Hillary campaign has made people ignited. I think you see a lot of that fire that comes from not only are you oppressed, but you're having your voice co-opted by the Hillary Clinton campaign, who is telling people, "Oh no, I have the black vote. I have the black people are supporting me," and like people like him, people like me, like our voices are being silenced by this narrative that Clinton is for the black vote. Clinton is for the black population, and we know that most of us know that to not be true. So I think that that anger comes from being historically silenced and now being silenced in the mainstream again, but being able to see people on TV who look like you telling everyone that you as a black male support Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, I'm never. I mean, no matter the amount of empathy I develop, no matter the amount, I'll never understand what it's like to wake up in a country where every time I look at any place of authority, every time I look at TV, even at success in many cases, I will always see a sea of faces that is not people like me. I'll never understand how that works. I can only imagine how disempowering it can feel. But to me, seeing a man like this, I remember back at BTV, we had a clip we kept showing of a Native American who was about just as impassioned and angry, who was walking on the street and happened by a conservative protest against immigrants, and he just wailed on them rhetorically about them being immigrants, them not being invited, and he basically stopped their rally, and then he walked back off. And to see this kind of passion, to see this kind of energy surrounded around a cause that is positive, about positive change, not about pulling others down to your level, but about lifting all people up to a higher level. It gives me hope. I mean, I know we are on the cusp of Hillary getting the nomination, but it still, seeing people like this, it still gives me hope.
Yeah, I think as you said earlier, hope in a lot of cases gives way to anger. I think we're seeing a lot of people who were hopeful during the Obama administration. They were hopeful in 2008. They were hopeful in the primary, and now they're just angry. I think a lot of people have been angered by the treatment of the Bernie Sanders supporters and the treatment of Bernie Sanders himself, and it has now become a situation. Well, if you don't want me to eat here, I might as well burn this place down, because what other choice have you left me? And I think that's that is the takeaway from any kind of democratic system, any kind of sort of free country, free quote unquote country, liberty. Like, if you don't allow people to engage with the system in a legitimate way, if you don't allow them to engage in legitimate acts of public discourse, voting, protest, nonviolent demonstrations, if you curtail those rights, all you do is open up the gates for more radical rights. I mean, more radical demonstrations, more radical people whose voices are being disenfranchised and have to find new avenues to redress their grievances. Like, if you close off the legitimate avenues for the redressment of political grievances, which is voting and political demonstration and political discourse, all you leave is rioting in the streets. And I think that's the danger. That's the danger of creating a society that's anti-democratic, like not only in appearance but in actuality. That you open up the door for violence at the local level.
Yeah, but what's the alternative? I mean, what's a poor girl who left the White House in poverty gonna do? I mean, if you want the presidential nomination and you already got denied by a popular young handsome black man, and then this old surly white dude who has been giving you trouble even back when you were in the White House, he comes along and starts stepping you up. What are you going to do? What's a girl going to do?
I can't really engage with Hillary Clinton as sort of a legitimate. She reminds me of Margaret Thatcher. Like, she's very Thatcher-esque in that way, where people sort of, in their intro philosophy classes and with their intro, women and gender studies, knowledge of what feminism is, are arguing, well, is Margaret Thatcher, / Clinton a feminist icon? And it's just like, who cares? Her policies are bad, and her not every just labeling something as feminist does not necessarily make it good. I mean, labeling something as anti-feminist makes it bad, but like, Hillary Clinton's feminism is very surface level. It's very, very, and I talked about blackwashing yesterday, but this is femwashing, and the Democrats are good at this too. They're good at making policies that are dangerous for 99% of people seem like they are beneficial by getting a minority to promote them. And that's all Hillary Clinton is doing. Hillary Clinton is putting a female spin on the old neoliberal story. Like, she's putting a female face on neoconservatism. She's putting a female face on neoliberalism. She's putting a female face on anti-statism. And we need to talk about the fact that, yes, Hillary Clinton is a woman, but she doesn't represent all women. And not only that, but the policies that she has for America and the world in general are going to disproportionately affect females around the world. Not middle-class white females, not rich white females, not rich black females, not rich females of any race, but poor women. You know, bombing the Middle East creates, you know, panic and infrastructure disruption and resource disruption that unequally affects Middle Eastern women. And for her to come out and say, well, if you're not a woman, you don't vote for me, you're somehow anti-women, it's a joke. It's a joke. It demonstrates how myopic mainstream feminism has become, to the point where someone's policies, you know, being anti-15%, being anti-$15 minimum wage is anti-women. Being anti-union, being anti, I can't think of anything else particularly, but being like those things are anti-women policies. And we need to understand them as such. We need to, you know, deepen our understanding of what feminism entails and how it needs to be incorporated in a real way into our discourse, specifically intersectionality.
Can you explain that, intersectionality?
Okay, yeah, actually I can. Like, I know like this electoral cycle has just butchered that word. Intersectionality is the result of what is known as third wave feminism. Third wave feminism is a response to second wave feminism, amongst many responses to second wave feminism, that identified a problem with the rhetoric in second wave feminism as that it treated all women, regardless of race and class, as, you know, part of this, subject to the same pressures in society. So you say no matter if you're a white woman, a black woman, whatever, you have the same burdens in society, the same type of oppression. And those oppressions were defined by middle-class white women who, at that point, were, you know, the leaders of that movement. But around the end of, I want to say the end of the 70s, it might be the 60s, but probably the 70s, a black woman came out and, you know, laid out this notion of intersectionality that described that power dynamics are more complicated than just women on bottom, men on top. You have to include, you know, color, you have to include race, you have to include sexuality. And that if you believe that society exists on a whole to shuttle men of color to positions of power, generally, that is incorrect. If you believe society exists to shuttle homosexual men to positions of power, you are incorrect. You know, there are a lot, you know, identity is layered and complex, and you might be a persecutor in one situation, but the persecutor in another situation. If you're a white woman in a room full of black males in a position of power, you are persecuting males, but you are, you know, your whiteness is more emphasizing your femaleness. But what it has become is that if you have a drop of minority, you're oppressed and you can never be the oppressor. And you are capable of speaking to every issue that's facing anyone who looks like you that is part of that oppressed. So, you know, Hillary Clinton can speak for all women, or Barack Obama can speak for all black people. And it leads to situations where we don't engage with the lives of black females, we don't engage with the, you know, unique burdens of black females, we don't engage with the unique burdens of, you know, poor black males, we don't engage with the whole buffalo of people and what they are, you know, what is encompassed in making up their worldview.
Yeah, so when we're talking about feminism and this concept of intersectionality, I'm reminded of a line Noah had before she even started her own show. She was a guest on the Benjamin show, where she said corporate feminism doesn't trickle down. And she was responding to this idea that the more women who got successful in the corporate world and politics world, the political world, the more it would gain access, give access to other women to rise up. But as you just pointed out, and also pointed out earlier, feminism seems to not be colorblind, because when you look at the usual stat for pay equity, for example, you see, oh, we make 75 cents on the dollar. Okay, fair enough. Now take out take white women out of that equation, and let's see what the disparity is now. And that disparity is insane. It's insanity. And when even if you don't take all white women, but just take upper-class white women out, you again get a much larger disparity in the pay equity situation. So I would question anyone who is at that high level of politics ability to effect change. We have Nigel coming up. He is streaming on his Periscope with the Equality Coalition rally outside City Hall. So we are going to have Dave try and bring up that stream, and in about 50 minutes we are going to be changing streamers and hosts, so you'll get Eric Miller and Richard Green from Project Sanity.
So I want you to think a moment about
your hosts.
And
sorry, I got cut off by some sound reverb there.
Now you come around here.
So we'll be changing teams so that Brandon and I can get away, and Dave for that matter. Dave had been up his time zone since 6 a.m. and 5 a.m. He's been streaming since 5 a.m. his time zone. He was most likely up quite a bit before that. So we'll be changing teams. And okay, so to continue the feminism discussion, sorry about that. Getting a lot of impressions all at once here. To continue the feminism discussion, I mistrust anyone at that high level saying that them being there somehow.
Yes, I got that stream coming through. I'm sorry, brother.
That's okay. So we have the Periscope coming up, so we're transitioning into it. Here comes Nigel.
Shit. Stand by.
Or not.
Well, just to touch on that before we take over, I think that we need to focus more on how rich and politically powerful Hillary Clinton is, like those parts of our identity.
We're live.
Sounds really good, guys. Sorry, can't bring it up.
I might not want to be civil disobedience, but maybe I can do like maybe feed the homeless, maybe help guide people to shelter. If you know somebody that has a problem with their utility bill, maybe you got a proper channel to go through that. That's advocacy. You may want to do that. You may want to educate people on what's going on around them. Pull people out of their houses, people that act like they're not concerned, or it doesn't affect them because it does. If you hear them complaining, you speak your piece. I'm not going to teach my voice too much more because that sounds starting to go a little here. And I said I need to do some training later on. I got to play it out. But I thank you for your time. Remember, EqualityCoalition.us.
EqualityCoalition.us. EqualityCoalition.us. They're looking for volunteers to create chapters. So if you go to EqualityCoalition.us, EqualityCoalition.us.
Again, as Tyrese was saying, the cool thing about Equality Coalition is there are no leaders. We have lead organizers, but there's no one in charge, okay? So if you want to start something, just start it. And, you know, you can do it under our umbrella if you want in your area. info.equalitycoalition@gmail, join.equalitycoalition@gmail. But the cool thing is, again, it only takes 6 people to get something started. I started with a bunch of friends. That's it. And again, it's volunteers, and we don't want to make any money. We just want to give whatever we can give and get back whatever we lost, obviously. But the code is to take the morality of Bernie Sanders and bring it into life. I'm going to tell you a little story about a friend of mine, Joe Cox. Joe Cox is a guy that goes around this city everywhere with signs all over his bike. They're all Bernie Sanders signs. I want everybody to clap for this guy. He's going to talk about helping people and what Equality Coalition does. So I want to let him talk to you guys a little bit about what he does with us. Joe.
Okay, I'm Joe. I got involved I met Dan through Bernie events and through promoting all these different marches. I got involved with Bernie just because basically I've always hated politics. Politics are stupid. I like Bernie because it's about equality. And we should all come together, equality. And that's the only reason why I'm involved in any of this, is for equality. One day, hopefully, that's what it will be. The Equality Coalition, basically, though, is taking that. And you take it to wherever you are, wherever you live. And it's using the message of be the change. Be the change you wish to see in wherever you are. Be what you wish to see. You want to see people hungry, like help out however you can. Do whatever you can. Think outside the box. Think big, think small. Think about something that you can do to help somebody out that's out there. And that's it. There you go.
Thanks, Joe. Is Steve around? Steve Oakenlane? National Organizer? Steve, where you at? Okay. We can't see him. Right now we're going to have John speak, and he's going to talk more about We're Not Dead Yet. Thank you for letting me speak. I'm from England.
Sorry.
I'm not a socialist. I'm a left-wing socialist. And I'd like to tell you what we'd like. Right? I'm not going to make a long speech. I'm just going to throw the demands out. If you like it, you cheer. If you don't, you don't. So, I want health care for every single person. On demand. I want free public education. I want affordable, accessible, integrated housing so we can all live together. I want to get a fucking taxi in Philadelphia because there ain't no accessible ones. I want to close all the institutions that warehouse and lock disabled people who committed no crime whatsoever, who are now today lying in their own shit and piss with their power. That's what I want, and that's why I'm a socialist. Sorry, I don't want you to go out there and get me the right to die. Get me the right to live. Get me the right to work. Get me the right to this community. I'm burning. Philadelphia's burning. Let's go burn.
Right now by a lot of media and a lot of delegates is, well, Bernie endorsed Hillary, so why aren't you supporting her too? And I think what we're seeing here today is a lot of rage, is a lot of frustration. We've been trying to tell people that we're not okay. We're not okay in this country. We need health care. We need education. We need affordable housing. We need our phones. We need fair elections. We need to get money out of politics if we're ever going to solve all of the major problems that we have. All right, I'm going to put Steve back on to say a few more words.
Just to kind of piggyback on what Margaret was saying, me, Dan, everyone is here for the same reason. I mean, there's a huge problem in this country. There's many problems in this country, also with the government, how everything is being ran, and that is what we're trying to fix. Coming to Philadelphia by the masses, that's just one way to actually get everything started. But the real change won't happen until everyone becomes the change. You have to be the change that you want to see in society. And that's what we want to promote. Whenever you look at the government and you see that there is childhood hunger, childhood poverty that is just rampant in this country, whenever I have friends that oversaw the elections in Iraq come back and say that those elections were conducted more fairly than our elections here, that is a problem. That is a problem. As far as what to do to fix it after the primaries, once Bernie Sanders is nominated, we have to actually get into government. We have to run for office. You have to be the change you want to see in this country. And that's what we're here for.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you. All right, so we have somebody else queued up that wanted to do open mic speakers.
Beautiful.
Please
Beautiful.
come up. We'll have you on next, okay?
Thank you, everybody. My name is Sarah. I came here for think about how hard you all want to come here. Think about it. I want to say, first and foremost, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Drinking water, stay cool, and a lot we have to keep in mind. Our sounds are political reason that we're here. At the same time, think about all that energy that you spend to bring yourself here. Think about how important it is to carry that forward.
It's simply amazing how much Bernie Sanders' messages resonate with the progressive community here. And you just look at all these people. I mean, these are progressive rallies. This rally is about equality, the Equality Coalition, and you know, it's synonymous with Bernie. All these Bernie supporters. I mean, you'd almost think this was a Bernie rally. Lots of Neverhill, O'Gill, lots of the Bernie issues are captured on signs. There was a sign recently just over here about single payer healthcare, education,
and always know
all the issues
no point in being demoralized,
Bernie had as
because
part of
every
his
single
platform.
person standing here on this sidewalk across the street knows that we have already won this. CNN and MSNBC will tell you that Hillary Clinton won the popular vote. What they won't tell you is those votes were bought for her by her corporate cronies through a super PAC, which should never have existed. Think about how much money we've raised, how hard we've all worked. We have the power to defeat these institutions. Even the Koch brothers got out of the presidential race because they're scared of us. $889 billion is nothing compared to you. Never give up, and I'll see you for the duration of the political revolution.
All right, here we go. This is Liam Dagger, everybody. And we welcome Liam. Liam has a statement that he's going to share with us. Are you ready?
Liam Dagger is okay. Alright, that's what we're doing. I want to ask, why did we vote for Bernie Sanders in the first place? Why are we here right now? Why have we gathered today in Philadelphia to rally against an unjust and corrupt system? We voted for Bernie because he spoke the ideals our country should embody. That all people should feel represented and accepted, not scared that their own government should persecute them based on their race, gender identity, or disability. That all people have a fundamental, and unquestionable right to health care. Food and water, not just to those who can afford it. That all people should have equal space to live, learn, and pursue their own happiness. We voted for Sinners because these ideals challenge our broken system. The Bernie Sanders movement, our movement, is pushing America forward. For the disability community, this next step is the Disability Integration Act. This legislation addresses the institutional bias, the bias that the federal government has to stick people with disabilities in nursing homes, stripping away their freedom and humanity. The DIA ensures that all people with disabilities have the right to choose and receive long-term services, and supports that it mandates that states and other public entities provide such services, such as affordable, accessible, integrated housing. But this legislation will do more than provide these basic human rights by ending the institutional bias and providing an integrated alternative. Society will be forced to confront the needs of people with disabilities. Instead of displacing and disregarding our people with disabilities, stores, restaurants, offices in our country, as the whole must cater to the needs of all people, not just those who see as normal. Bernie saw the need for this kind of legislation, spoke out in favor of the DIA. It is our turn to show support for this new kind of equality.
So we're still giving speeches here.
I want to talk a little bit about the deaf. I don't notice the grassroots organization that's national. And they have this thing they say. And it's called, how can you spell power?
Well, we don't know.
Let's come over here in the shade for a bit. Do you know what time they're marching off?
I'm sorry?
You know what time they're marching off? What time they're leaving?
I don't. I thought it was supposed to be at 10.
Yeah, right. Well, then I heard 12, and then someone told me 2, and I was like, what?
Can't be 2, because we got to go 2.5 miles. And 3 o'clock starts the Jill Stein rally in Marconi.
Right, in Marconi, right. Okay, are you going to that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think I might as well.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to march with you guys.
I think you should.
Yeah.
You'll end up at the FDR Park in Marconi, which I've already been to today.
Oh, okay.
Because I thought it was the starting point, but it wasn't.
Oh, so Marconi's down there?
Yes.
Perfect.
I know, it's all... Do you not have the map?
I do. I have...
There's a map of the political fest put out.
Okay.
It shows where everything is.
Yeah, no, that's good. Well, they got a lot of police here, so I imagine we get.
You know what it is? They're waiting for a bunch of people to show up. Everybody's on Fire Chat because Fire Chat bounces off of each other's phones.
That's right.
Okay. So Fire Chat blew up about an hour ago and saying, "Where is everybody? Get your ass down to City Hall." So we got a bunch of people that were at FDR. We got to get our ass down. So I think they're waiting to swell the crowd enough, and so it'll be impressive when we make the march.
There you go. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Some great signs, some great creativity around here.
You know, and I'm a great sign maker.
Yeah.
But I came from Arkansas, and I couldn't fit my signs in the car with everything else, 10 people.
Right.
And I was going to get some signs last night, but they were too expensive. Everybody's coming on a shoestring, you know.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
My daughter is the only Arkansas on the Standing Rules Committee.
Oh, really?
Wow. She's hurt to the core. What we heard from her was, this is not democracy. She said, because we down ballot, we campaign heavily. I mean, she's the treasurer for a campaign in Arkansas. She says, I don't even know if I can stay in the Arkansas Democratic Party after seeing what I've seen. I feel bad for her. She's real young.
Yeah. Do you think it's going to? Do you think this is going to permanently damage the Democratic Party? It's done, right?
It's done.
Split.
It's done.
Yeah.
I mean, you get the proof of you get proof that they've done things wrong, and they hire her. Hillary's like, can I see your resume? Oh, I cheated for Hillary Rodham Clinton. Okay, you're hired. That's such a slap in the face.
Yeah.
The VP was such a slap in the face.
Yeah.
Everything they do, they're not acknowledging the cheating. That, you know.
Oh, putting Bernie on the 4 o'clock time slot or whatever, right? Like.
Yes, the no debate.
Yeah.
And what makes me mad is if you bring it up to somebody, they say, oh, you're wearing the tinfoil hat, you're a conspiracy theorist. Really? Really? So, and then at the same time they say, get over it, he lost, get on board.
Right.
Really? After insulting me, mocking me, denigrating me, patronizing me, and now you want me to save your ass. And you have all the power, all you have to do is nominate the right person. But you don't want to do that. You want us to save your ass.
Right. No, I
Never
agree.
saving your ass.
Yeah.
And if it splits the party and Trump gets in, maybe they won't use that anymore. The old vote for the lesser of two evils anymore. They need to be taught a lesson.
Right. Yeah, I think it's going to be very, very interesting
All
election.
the Bernie people go to Jill Stein. She could win.
That would be pretty spectacular.
If 30% of the independents went to Jill Stein. I'm right
Waiting
here.
to take up here on the march.
You know, and I also tell them that a vote for Hillary is a vote for Trump.
Right.
So, we have a few independents, all the Bernie people, some disaffected Republicans. The third party could pull it off. Imagine that.
Wouldn't that be wild?
All the lobbyists would be out of a job, right?
I know, that'd be wild, right?
All the corporations would be like, quick, get me a list of anybody and everybody that's impossible power and get $1 million into their hands by 5 o'clock tonight or you're fired.
Right.
Because they would just be, what? They would be at sea.
Yeah.
It'd be done.
That'd be one of the best things too.
Oh, yeah, it would.
Yeah, I often say that, you know...
But then you have to worry about the Trump people. My daughter seriously thinks that there could be a civil war if Hillary gets in.
Oh, really?
They hate Hillary so bad. The Southern men hate her.
Yeah.
And they're knuckle draggers. They're ignorant. Well, if they're voting for Trump, right?
Right.
She's afraid of a civil war, or at least civil unrest, because she thinks they're going to say the election wasn't legitimate.
That's right.
And they're gun-toting people, so...
Yeah. Did you see the spin job they tried to do on this whole email thing, where they said,
Russia.
"Oh, it was Russia. It was Russia. Everyone look over at Russia."
Edward
buttons in Russia. We the people released the fucking emails.
Right.
Yeah, and then they try to blame a whole
We will not heal.
I know.
What do they think? That we would buy that? We're that stupid?
It's crazy, right? What they try and do to distract you from the truth.
It's
You know.
all sleight of hand.
Yeah.
The organization here in Philly was a big setup to split us up.
My daughter
Yes.
might be in this.
Yes. Well, we've got a few groups here forming now, so this is good. I guess the message is.
And the message said, "We're forming at Marconi."
Oh no, really?
All right, bitch.
Okay.
All right, I'm not doing that. I'll see you when I march there.
Right.
But we got something going on here.
Yes. There we go, as we can see here, like Bernie Sanders not for sale is the chant going up. They're starting to block up the streets, so I guess we're getting ready to march soon. It's going to be pretty spectacular. Oh, that sun chased me by. I'm going to do a little crowd walk here. Alright. You want to say a few words to the Project Sanity viewers?
Okay.
Project Sanity, how you doing? So your issue here is about stopping the drug war, the racist drug war?
That's one of my many issues, honestly, yes. I actually align with Bernie Sanders on most of the issues.
Yes?
Yeah.
Great. And where are you from?
I'm from Skagit County, Washington.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Excellent. And you a delegate or you just here as a supporter?
Well, I was a state delegate, and then I didn't make it to the nationals, but I'm here anyway. So,
Okay, great.
Yeah, they can't stop me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Did you do the march yesterday?
I didn't get a chance to. I got in at 5 in the morning yesterday.
Okay.
And so I had to take a day to just kind of
get your head together.
Yeah, like it was going to be a bad thing if I tried to come out here yesterday after that. So
I hear you. Yeah,
I spent 40 hours on the road. We drove out here. We were part of the journey for Bernie.
Nice. Very nice.
Met in Seattle and drove pretty much straight through the entire
Very
time.
nice. And so after this rally, we end up at FDR.
Yes, we do.
And then we're going to be right near Marconi, where Jill Stein is meant to be speaking later on tonight. Is that correct?
That's what I hear.
Yeah, great. Is that your plan, or is your plan to be down outside the convention center protesting?
My plan is to be outside the convention center, but not to say that I don't support Jill. I really do. I have voted for her in previous elections, and I voted for the Green Party since 2000. Since it became abundantly obvious that the American political system was intent on moving us to the right, whether we were moving to the left or not.
Right.
So it was really important that I got on this train with Bernie Sanders, because this is my way to bring the party back to the left. So
Great. That's awesome. I mean, and that's how you do it, right? It's up to each one of us to put in our own contribution to make the difference, right?
Exactly. Exactly. You can't win if you don't try.
That's right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
Awesome. It's great to speak to you. Enjoy your day, man. Cheers.
Keep up the fight.
Thank you. There we go. I hope you enjoyed that little review there. I'll just
I want to let you know
keep walking around here.
right now that you may not know about. A number of people have been camping out on American and Cumberland for the last couple of days. There's been one coming around the country from PEPA, the Poor People's Economic Human Rights Campaign.
Bernie umbrella. Is that a homemade Bernie umbrella? Wow, that's beautiful. I'm with Project Sanity. Would you mind saying a few words, saying hi? Yeah, we're part of the Progressive Army. So you did that yourself?
My partner did it.
Oh, really?
I'm not very artistic.
You're not the creative one?
No, I thought of the words and she wrote it on there.
Oh, great. Okay. So you're the thinker, and then she puts it into action.
Absolutely.
That's like a match made in heaven. And where are you from?
I'm from Florida.
From Florida. Oh, wow. So you're used to this weather then? This is like home for you.
Absolutely. Yes. And I wanted to say something positive. You know, there's a lot of negativity.
There is.
And of course, I'm not into Hillary Clinton at all, but I really want to thank Bernie, no matter what, for what he's done. And he's done a lot. He's sparked a revolution.
He has indeed.
I love him.
Yeah, he has indeed. Did you march yesterday in the...
I totally marched. Did you?
No, I got here late in the afternoon, unfortunately, and by the time I got down to Burnham Park, it was sort of all wrapped up, and there was just a few bands playing, but...
Yeah, I'm not marching today, 4 miles in the 98-degree
You're
weather.
not marching today?
I'm not going to march today because I want to go to FDR Park tonight and hear Jill Stein.
Right, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
5 to 7.
Well, that's why I'm marching down there. I figured I might as well get down that way, and then I'll be at the park ready to go.
What about dinner?
You know, I'll find a hot dog vendor on the street.
Well, you might inspire me. It wasn't that hard with all those people.
Right, it helps, right?
And the fire hydrants were open. And they would spray you. It was great.
Oh, very nice. All right. From Australia originally, but now I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, the new media and the progressive media and, you know, Benjamin Dixon and Tom Hartman and all those people, you know, are really just trying to get the message out that the mainstream media doesn't get out, right? You know, mainstream media will come here and they'll shoot this and they'll put 30 seconds on TV.
I know.
I mean,
exactly.
us guys, we're out here, we're streaming so that people can go back and watch the entire record and like hear the speeches, like some of those speeches that the guys have been given there, you wouldn't normally get to hear.
So get it out there.
Yeah. All right, thank you very much. We'll stop it out. There we go, guys. So another couple of interviews there, and nice lady from Florida. Definitely used to this heat. Well, we're gonna now move ourselves a little bit further up into the fire here, into the crowd. I find a little bit of shade. A lot of people. I want to get rid of it.
Yeah, she's been here, got over here. Little girls get from the wide side.
Not worrying about Silver.
I would just say delegate There's definitely a lot of our
So apparently what happened was a message went out on Fire Chat telling people to actually get down here to the protest. That would explain in part some of the swelling of people that we've seen. Apparently there was some confusion with some of the people believing that we're already meant to organise down at Marconi, which is down at FDR Park, which is where Jill Stein is going to be later on this evening.
Yeah, baby!
And there we go. You know, and then there was that other lady I was just speaking to just recently, and she said, you know, the cities, they've really set this up to separate the supporter groups, the various supporter groups. They're separated from the convention center, from the Wells Fargo Center rather, and they're separated in terms of their rallies and where their rallies have been approved for, and that's obviously doing its part to keep the group separate, the protesters separate.
Not state security. Food security. Not state security.
Haven't seen too many counter protesters around here, if any at all.
Food security.
So far
Not state security. Food security. 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 Not state security.
$22 months, $27 religiously. There is a last day if you donate it to Bernie's campaign against.
See if I can get a few words with this guy. Interesting message there. How you doing?
Good. You want to make sure your vote counted and turn it in?
Sure.
Yeah, for the lawsuit. There's a lawsuit about all the voter
Oh,
fraud.
very good. Thank you. Down here, sign there. Bernie wears. Bernie Sanders hat. Breeze came up very nice. Did I photobomb? I didn't mean to photobomb. I was trying to stand out of the way. I keep chasing the shade down here. The sun keeps on following me. I don't know what's up with that. The sun and I aren't good friends.
Why are we marching? Why are we marching?
15 minutes? Yeah. Beautiful. All right.
And we just got a text. That's the organizer. We're at North Tony Park by FDR. Come on down.
That's unbelievable.
We'll come with the marchers. My daughter saw me out here, she'd be having a fit. Whoops! Because I'm eating pain pills so I can walk, because I can't normally walk. And I'm going to march 2.5 miles at the purpose meet.
Well, if you can do it, I can do it.
Yeah, you're right. Because I figure the march will be slow.
Yeah.
And at any point, we can always hop on the subway, skip 10 blocks, and then get off and join them again as you show up. You know?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
And trouble is, all my streaming viewers will know, because they'll see me get on the train and then they'll see me lose signal.
Well, you know, I actually had on my tablet. I was able to go to on the subway. Maybe the subway actually has Wi-Fi. Wouldn't that be great? You'd have to test it out. Yeah. You tell them I ain't walking there 2.5 miles in 100-degree heat. I'm gonna hop on the subway. When do we march? When do we march? Let's start the march.
Hey, how you doing?
Great.
I'd like to say a few words for Project Sanity.
Project Sanity, hello.
Yeah, so we're part of the Progressive Army New Media Network, and I heard you chanting before. You were chanting your slogan there. Would you like to explain to the viewers a little